And I'm likely going to employ whatever means I can to make this happen because I don't have tools available to us. It's actually becoming uh, feasible. I mean, just today I was looking into this is a side topic we'll get into celebrities because somebody had posted a tweet, Jackson having survived 9/11. So apparently Michael Jackson was going to go into one of the towers that day, and he didn't. And they were correlating this with this Michael Jackson album cover where he's dancing on a chessboard with his arms in the 9/11 clock position as buildings collapse in the background. And so I did a search with Perplexity, and I just, I asked, I said, how many celebrities survived 9/11? So Michael Jackson, the king of pop, had a scheduled meeting in the World Trade Center on the morning of 9/11, but he overslept because he stayed up late talking to his family. This saved him from being in the building during the attacks. Mark Wahlberg was booked on AA Flight 11, but he went to a film festival in Toronto instead. Seth MacFarlane, the Family Guy. And by the way, Seth MacFarlane is, according to somebody that I know, is portraying. I shouldn't even say it. I don't want to bring this person into the chat necessarily, but he had this theory that Seth MacFarlane was playing the role of Elon Musk. An absurdity, but I thought about it recently, and I'm thinking, well, maybe what he was detecting here is another predictive programming proxy. There was this show with MacFarlane called The Orville about this generational flight, a spacecraft, and kind of like Star Trek. I haven't seen it, but there is some Muskian aspects to the character that he plays, and I'm more inclined to look at a lot of these abstract theories about various actors playing other actors, or like as fake, as within the realm of possibility, but inconclusive. Like, I've been really rethinking this whole thing about Alex Jones and Bill Hicks in light of Alex Jones's recent dramatic weight loss. And I don't think it's AI, nor do I think he's taking any sort of, they call it what, Ozempic Jones. I don't think that's even it. I think it's more likely he just exercised a lot. But looking at him and his weight and stuff, I don't know. I think he's much bigger than Bill Hicks. All right, let's continue here. Let me just see who else rolled in here. I like I said, we've missed a few days, but we're back. Okay, let's see. Roxy W. Janky Frames covers. Thank you for joining. Where you've been? Yeah, like I said, we're back on schedule, 6 p.m. And I'm making this a priority. Not that I deprioritized it, but I had my plate full with all kinds of things, especially these latest tools that we're adding to our arsenal. But that's all done. Like, I have it under control. And I've reopened a few shops. If you didn't, there's a lot of things that have happened if you got the newsletter. Autohoax.com will take you to the Hoax Report. The Hoax Report is sort of like the Drudge Report for the off-world stage. As in, it's a site that, if you are in the know, it should be your go-to every day for the relevant headlines. And the content is being sourced from people on our side of the screen. That would be people like JLB, Fakeologist, and the like. So what I'm doing is I'm actually getting RSS feeds from anybody who blogs or has a video blog, and I'm just going to plug it in to the Hoax Report, and then every day I'll be reviewing the new content there. Braveheart says, I think, therefore you are. Thanks for joining. Do you think? Welcome back. Let's go. Appreciate the support, everybody, also. And yeah, the research has been unabated. In fact, it's escalating. We're getting really kind of cutting edge here when it comes to these new stories. Like the helicopter crash in the Hudson, for example. I saw the video, but is video enough? Oh, it happened on TV, so it's real. Well, it's rude to say it's fake because there were children on board. You see, that's emotional manipulation if we're trying to be objective here. And if we're engaging in objective media analysis, we can't let our feelings get in the way of our analysis of the facts. So we have to, not take anything for granted. Like, oh, this time I'm going to trust the news. This particular event, I'm going to trust it. No, the last one, which wasn't that long ago, I said, well, let's wait and see if it happened in the context of a drill. Let's see if there's any predictive programming, which there was. The Mel Gibson film Flight Risk with Mark Wahlberg, who almost died on 9/11, by the way. And Mel Gibson, who participated in 9/11 predictive programming in The Patriot, by the way. I mean, these individuals are integrated into all the psyops. Mel Gibson's house burning in Los Angeles. Anyway, it's just amazing to me that this is just such a closed movie set, and people even look up to people like Mel Gibson is. Oh, he's one of us. No, none of them are. All right, let's see. Calm down. Thanks for joining. Mazel says LARPers. Yeah, everybody's LARPing these days. So when the plane hit the helicopter at the Reagan airport, I was like, I don't have enough information to say it's real, just because I saw it on TV. I'm going to wait and see if there's predictive programming and drills. Not only did we have flight risk, but we had drills. It happened in the context of a drill. Think about that. They're doing a simulation event, which means closed set. It means that it's essentially a simulation, like a movie is what you could describe it as. And during the context of this movie, something happens like that? No. There's too many instances I can point out of drills being specifically concurrent with real events. One of the best ones are the London subway bombings. And I have an Auto Hoax wiki about this one, where the BBC does this documentary about terrorists bombing the subways. And right after that, the subways get bombed. And during the bombing, it emerges, there were drills going on where they were rehearsing terrorists bombing the exact places that got bombed for real. Like, how is this not raising red flags with people? It's unbelievable that people aren't... They'll say, oh, it's an eerie coincidence. It's the main thing. It's an eerie coincidence. There are no eerie coincidences on the world stage. And another point, these are not synchronicities. It's not the simulation. Put the BBC documentary out at the same time as these drills just to mess with our heads. No, it's not the simulation. We can drop that, I think. And we're piling up evidence every day. Our investigation, our research, it's piling up because what we're looking for, what we're demonstrating here, is this consistent pattern which is predictable. We have a model for processing the information that comes from media. It's an active model, and it's not the truther way of looking at things where this happened, but these other guys did it. No, we're actually questioning, did it even happen? But anyway, when it comes to any of these events, we have to ask yourself, do you have enough information to know it's real? And so when it came to this last one, I didn't have time to look into it, the Hudson crash. I didn't have time. So I went to my hoax report, and what did I find? Well, it turns out that Fakeologist had posted something, and it's a pretty good channel. He was very popular during the lockdowns with the empty hospitals thing. His name is Jason Goodman. So the fatal helicopter crash at Pier 40, he did a video called Ghost Town, New York City, where he couldn't really corroborate anything that was reported. And he's there, boots on the ground, and he couldn't find anything tangible to substantiate it. Now, evidence, absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. So you have to wait. You can't say, we have to wait a few more days, is what I would say. So I'm going to wait and see. Then you add into it the story of who blew up in the helicopter. It was was it a CEO? Some kind of conspiracies already implied there. And then just the strangeness of it. I mean, it's a horrible tragedy, they say. And whenever I hear the word tragedy, it makes me wonder if that's some kind of code, like theater. But I mean, hypothetically, if it was real, yeah, it's horrible and tragic. But do I know it's real? I don't have the confidence to say I do. And Jason Goodman, on the ground, doesn't either. So where does that leave me? It leaves me agnostic. I'm a non-believer. And if you think that I'm bad because I'm a non-believer, then you are an MSM fundamentalist. And the MSM fundamentalists will shame the non-believers because they're in a religion. Let's see, Braveheart says, I keep seeing videos of Tesla drivers getting messed with for being Nazis. What do they call it? The swastika car? Yeah, those cars are getting a lot of hate. The the fascinating thing to me here is that the left has been all about electric vehicles, getting rid of internal combustion engines, save Gaia, but now they hate the electric cars. They're sabotaging the charging stations. I don't have anything against the the Cybertrucks. I see them all over town. I think it's not any different than eco-fascists breaking the windows and slashing the tires of SUVs. It's all just symbolic. But what I find notable about it is that leftists will do this stuff. They do get triggered and activated by the media. This is mind control. You have to manufacture a lot of the extremism on the right, but it exists in an organic form. The left is actually unhinged far more. They have less impulse. I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's the fact that they have the backing of the establishment, because that's what they represent. It's state olatry. Government is God. My Third Eye says Netflix is life. Yeah, this is welcome to Planet Netflix. We're in the Disney universe. Joined too by Dr. Bass Ackwards, Dwayne Bith, Jay Nelson, Howard Boyd, thank you for joining, says Shalom Timmy bro. Amen, Timmy. Yes, I concur. Joe Santo, I was worried about you, Tim, like 11 days off. Now, I was still blogging and creating content. The PSYOP trading cards are a thing. We were talking about this a month ago. Now they're stickers. But once we have 20 of these stickers created, and you can get them at autohoax.com, once we have those out, and we decide that this is the 20 we want to print into a deck, then we'll do the backsides and we'll agree on a border. So right now I'm experimenting with different designs, but we are definitely going to be producing trading cards and stickers. We have like 5 or 6 already, and I'm using ChatGPT for the cards. Their image generation is very good. I mean, for graphic design. Mizell says, I pay for Canva. Yeah, Canva is indispensable. Undercover CIA handler. What's with the bright light on the wall behind you? Yeah, that's interesting. That's the window. That's the window behind me, and it's just blown out. So the top half is actually glass, and then the reason why the wall is glowing, it's because the brick wall is actually not really a brick wall. It's a tapestry, and it's transparent. Getting a little masony in here. Calm Down says, I made an avatar in some AI program, but they want you to pay for it. If I were making money off it, that I'd pay for it. Oh, they want you to license it? Interesting. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of paywalls, and that's one of the things that I've been doing. I've been doing free trials on everything I could. And so I'll be happy to share my feedback. And I post links in Gilded. Calm Down says, I've made over 500 AI songs and thousands of images. You know, I'm wondering, is anybody selling albums? Like completely AI generated music. I've been doing a lot of nonfiction and fiction with these different applications. And one thing that's not true, it won't write a book for you because it can't think for you. It will help you effectively organize large amounts of information, entire chapter. Like it can help you organize your content like an editor. And then you can write something. Like I take my old manuscripts and I give it to Grok and I say, give me a critical review. What will make this more marketable? And it will give me a thorough breakdown. And I can even tell it, be brutal. And it will. So you can fire your editor. Okay, let's continue. N.A. Literalist says, Miss Hot Potato was Michael Jackson, LOL. If anybody understands that, let me know. I think I know, but... Okay, let's continue. Joe Santos says, I messaged my neighbor's dad who told me he was going to the Twin Towers in 9/11 and saw the planes. He got back to me today and said it really happened. He saw the planes hit the towers. Okay, now, people do lie, especially when it comes to matters of faith and contemporary myths. And to say they saw it, there's this thing that happens. They call it the 9/11 effect. And the mainstream media has commented on this. The 9/11 effect is what happens when people wrongly insert themselves into the event. In other words, they lie. But these are unpaid crisis actors. I have respect for paid crisis actors. And by the way, you know why there are no crisis actor whistleblowers? Because they're all agents. They're all CIA assets. They're all undercover, basically spies. The idea that they would disclose their identities and blow their own cover is ludicrous. We're not dealing with just regular Joes off the street. Hey, here's $20. Do you want a crisis act for us? It doesn't work that way. It's a closed set. So it shouldn't even be a question as to why there aren't any whistleblowers. David Hogg's never going to come clean. But as far as the 9/11 effect, one of the things that makes it work, I believe, is that we have so much imagery and people want to believe it, or they hear it and they believe it automatically. And so you get some sympathy. So it's kind of like virtue signaling. And then you get attention for it. There's a lot of reasons why people lie. But when it comes to the 9/11 thing, I think that if you imagine something enough, you have enough imagery there to support it, I think you can kind of trick yourself into saying, I remember, or I saw. Do you remember when Dearth, deep inside the rabbit's hole, said that he saw the planes hitting the towers? I mean, that video has been long since deleted, but he told me, he called in the early days of IPS, he called me on Skype, and he said, don't say nobody died on 9/11, because I saw the planes, and my best friend was dodging falling bodies because she was an EMT, and now she has to go to a psychiatrist every day. So he gave me this load of baloney, just totally manufactured this made-up EMT friend, lied about seeing planes, so I wouldn't call it fake. Dearth is now fed. Flat Earth Dave, by the way. Calm Down says, have you ever messed with Suno? I've done Suno and Sora for video. Suno is for music. And I was actually trying to create some bumper music and some, for the videos here. So if you have anything that you think might be suitable, by all means, send it. I am not an AI phobe. And I've been critical of truthers for their AI phobia. They think it's the devil, or it's going to take over everything. They're kind of like Luddites about it. And that's because they have been marinated in fear porn for decades. I mean, really since Hell 9000, but Skynet, everything from InfoWars has always been about AI being some kind of enemy of mankind. And for some reason, people think it's alive, that this is a technology that's always existed and now it's revealing itself to us. And that take is, it's falling into this trap, of I think, what Arthur C. Clarke said, any sufficiently developed technology is indistinguishable from magic. And we are at a point where things do seem very much like magic. But that doesn't mean it is magic. And ChatGPT or any of these applications are no more sentient than Word. Just a word processor, or Grammarly, or a magic 8-ball you shake up. Yes, no, maybe. Yeah, that's not sentient. So it's been misconstrued, and I think because of it, it's actually helped, I think, kind of perpetuate a lot of trutherisms that I think we can dispense with. Like AI is somehow now connected with simulation theory. Now everything's run by AI. So AI has become a God construct that has been grafted onto alt media. And I've predicted this. I said that this new world religion of Nasatology, with its doctrines of scientism and its God constructs like Gaia and nukes and space as the new heaven, I've been saying it's going to introduce a personal savior. Like it's going to have to personalize like HAL 9000, and AI will likely be mystified. And some people will see it in this light. They view it with trepidation, like they're scared of it. And I'm not scared of it, is my point. I'm embracing it because it is the norm and it's going to replace everything. So you might as well get used to it. It's a major game changer. And you know what? If anything, we should be taking advantage of it, because what is this think tank? but a disruptor of a closed media ecosystem. We've been this since the beginning. That's why we did the billboard. That's why we got involved with Mad Mike. From the very beginning, we've always been about separating from the controlled opposition, which turns out the entire alt media ecosystem is controlled opposition. All of them. And if they don't know they are, it's because they're unpaid crisis actors. They're dupes. They're followers who haven't seen through the real conspiracy. So if anyone here should be embracing the cutting edge and any disruptive developments, that would be us. And that's the reason why I have been using the image of the cyborg penguin, the penguinati, the idea of these penguins who've achieved the singularity before humans. T-Dog says, I can't visit Gilded because I don't know how to link it to Roblox. Yeah, I feel you on that. I hate Roblox. I got kicked out of it on my own account. I think it would be nice to just get back into a good Discord server, but we have to, if we do it, and actually someone had emailed me about this, that we should have a Discord server, a designated one, and I have one, but that we should only let in vetted people. You know, AutoHoax or GTFO has been kind of a rule here, because what I realized is that if you let in people who are still mainstream media believers or alt media believers, they're going to fight you. They're going to debate you, and they're going to hate you when you don't convert to their religion. And I've dealt with religious people, and I was somewhat surprised to find that a lot of truthers have embraced it as a religious paradigm. And they see me as an atheist. I'm like, I don't believe in your simulation god. Next thing you know, their entire demeanor changes. And I don't want to deal with believers. AutoHoax or GTFO really means get rid of the believers. We want to fill the room up with people with questions, not wrong answers. People who realize that we don't have all the answers, that embracing a model because it seems complete is fallacious. Ooh, Diana Southard, thank you. Her Actornaut PSYOP trading card sticker arrived today. Excellent, excellent. Now, I could probably pull up an example of this. Yeah, let me go ahead. So we have Actornauts. Here it is. The collection is growing. Now again, the border is going to be finalized. This isn't the final thing, but this image is probably final. PSYOP trading cards, Actornauts, autohoax.com. And what you have here are astronauts dangling from wires in front of a spacecraft with a green screen behind them. This is how they literally fake space. This is far closer to the truth than they're actually in space. Like, I don't know all of it. I don't know all the special effects. We've identified many of the techniques. In fact, they're so lazy. This latest expedition, so Musk sent some people over the poles to go over Antarctica to reinforce that Antarctica is real. And funnily enough, they had a female on the flight with long hair, but her hair wasn't sticking up like the other lady. Her hair was flat, like the Earth. I was like, what's going on with that? And then in one of the shots, she's looking out at the Earth and her mouth is wide open, and they never show you what they're seeing. They only show you the faces of the person seeing the Earth. And they have a fan blowing her hair. So I don't know what's going on, but SpaceX and NASA, I thought they were using the same special effects department, but I might have been wrong. Continue. Roxy says, Tim, AI is robbing us of you. Yeah, I could be AI right now. Clockwork says, AI reminds me of ghostwriting. Yeah, well, I was involved in a program in a company that was a publishing company, and we had a system that involved coming up with ideas for a story and then hiring people on Fiverr. Hey, write on this premise, give me 500 words. And then I would assemble all the writing, and then I would edit it together, try to make the tone consistent, and I'd publish it. And I'd published dozens of books under made-up names. It was all ghostwriting. And when I see ChatGPT and Claude AI capable of doing the same thing, I realize I don't need to hire those people anymore. So am I bad? No. No, I'm not going to get lost here. We have an agenda here. We can't afford to be on typewriters and licking stamps and using ham radios and glorifying some traditional version of the past, idealized past. No, this is actually a golden opportunity. And if you're not using it, I'd really question what's your reasoning. Like, why are you even carrying a smartphone if that's your take? There's like different ways that people approach change. You have early adopters, late adopters who play it safe. Then you have the laggards, the last ones to do it. And I'm an early adopter in this. At least I'm attempting to be. Dr. Bass Ackworth says, I heard Dave Weiss back in the day talking about how he used to do group hypnosis workshops. Later on Glowbusters, when asked about hypnotism, he didn't say anything. Oh, he's a certified hypnotist. If you want to see Flat Earth Dave hypnotize somebody, check out the video of him and Ruth, the 106-year-old at the retirement home. He hypnotized her. She didn't really get a Flat Earth textbook for geography when she was in grade school. That's a ridiculous proposition. But the fact that he got her to say that was an act of hypnosis. It was he used suggestion. He implanted the idea, got her to agree, and if you notice, she was crying. He brought her to tears. He emotionally manipulated her. And he's not even a believer. He's like, I don't believe in God or the Bible, but the Bible says, and your God says. It's very patronizing. But when I saw that, I was like, this is a new low. Flat Earth Dave going into nursing homes, looking for old victims. I thought that was abuse. Like, I mean, that's the type of stuff that you have to look at carefully, because that's a level of manipulation. It's unethical. And even, it's just, he's the worst person on Flat Earth. I think we can all agree. Okay, let's see. Mazel won't email me. Okay, so we're having problems with people getting to Gilded. I think we can fix this. I think what we might do is we will set up a designated Discord so we can all be in there and get back into voice chats and panel discussions. I think we need to bring back panels because I'm going to be inviting debate. The bots that I'm sending out are going to stir up debate, and that's by design. We need to start making a little bit more noise. Dr. Bass Ackworth says we should make a game to be played with the cards similar to the Illuminati cards. I like that idea. And that's kind of what we're doing here. That is kind of the concept. On the back of them, I'm going to put the Wikipedia breakdown. Like this, like let me show you one of the other ones. So on the screen, you're looking at Actronauts. Now, one of the things I'm also focusing on here is remaining uncensored. So I'm not going to be explicit here, but if you know, you know. So what do you see in this picture here? And this isn't even the full picture, it's clipped, but you have 3 marathon runners, one of them an amputee, and they're crying. Behind them is an FBI agent and somebody with a camera, and then there's a crock pot. Obviously, it's the Boston Hoaxathon. So that one's pretty funny, I think. And then I have this one, Death Fakers, and you've got an aged Tupac who looks kind of like Akil DMC in this picture if he was bald. Just a coincidence, though. The death of Tupac Shakur in 1996 has spurred numerous conspiracy theories over the years, fueled by unsolved nature of the case, his iconic status. There's quite a lot. We've got Tupac faked his death, East Coast, West Coast feud, Suge Knight's involvement, retaliation by Orlando Anderson, government conspiracy, Biggie Smalls connection, all kinds of theories, courtesy of Perplexity. Another thing, this card was made with ChatGPT. Just describe what you want. And then I got the information for the back of the card from Perplexity so I can compose a small article to put on the back. But we could do a game. I don't think it would be difficult. I've never played the Illuminati game, but the Illuminati plays it. You know they do. They have these tabletop exercises like Event 201, and they're playing this game to see what they're going to do next. It seems to be. Thank you, Diana Southard. Appreciate it very much. We've got 10 new members. Truth Hurts, Marcus, Frank Zen, Ryler, Symbia, Diana, and Joe Santos. Verkjun, and Max Carter have all received the Blue Wrench Lodge membership. See, what you're going to get in the mail, and check your mailbox, make sure your neighbors don't steal it. If, we have these porch pirates, they take everything off the porches. It's going to be a blue titanium wrench. It's kind of heavy. Check your boxes likely tomorrow or the next day, courtesy of Diana. Brandon says, has anyone heard of the idea of the flat earth model being similar to the Jungian diagrams of the psyche and is essentially a collective projection of the mind? I like that, but no, I have not. No, you should call and describe that. We've had conversations about this before because I've always been opposed to the idea of a model, and I don't think we have a complete model when it comes to the globe because the space part of it, you can't separate it from space, and if everything that we've been shown from space is fake, then we can't say the model's complete. The model that can be scientifically validated by taking a trip to Antarctica is not valid because what is happening above the Kármán line can't be verified. Jared needs to go to space. That's where he should go next. That would actually be kind of funny, honestly. It'd be comical. Because we all know what's going on up there. It's not even up there, it's down there. Space is in a Hollywood basement. It may not even be Hollywood. I think the moon landing was faked here in New Mexico. I think it's called Fort Cannon. Let's see. Roxy says, did AI make the illustrations? Yes. Exactly. Look, anyone who thinks that it's unethical to use AI needs to start writing everything by hand, sending every mail, no more emails, do everything analog, snail mail, faxes, everything by hand. Get a horse and buggy. Because this is the next iteration. Do you think it's just going to stop? That we're going to be on flip phones forever? No. Smartphones forever? No. These are iterations of something that's going to not resemble what it looks like now in 5 years. The iPhone's going to be implanted in your head very soon, I think. You know how much easier things are going to be when the iPhone can just read your thoughts? You just put your palm over it. But you're not going to stop it, is what I'm saying. And if our whole purpose here is to break the box open, to create some kind of a schism here, to put some wedges and create a break-off, a third branch of media, we have to use the tools that level the playing field. Perplexity is the equivalent of having 10 people in here doing research for me on a whim. Hey, give me this piece of information. And Perplexity does it faster. My third eye says, isn't space in a swimming pool? They do a lot of it in the swimming pools. One of the dead giveaways is light loss. Light loss is what happens when you have a spotlight or a flashlight underwater and the light dissipates and it doesn't go very far. And that's what you see when they're on spacewalks. There shouldn't be any light loss. There isn't at any other time. When they're just out there, rather in the cupola looking around, taking a picture of the Earth, it's super clear. They could take a picture of the Earth from the space station. It's crystal clear, high def. But then they go on their spacewalks and you look at the video and you can't see more than 50 yards. This is evident in every docking when they have one of these resupply modules attaching itself to the ISS. As it approaches, it comes from the dark and then it slowly comes into view. But my point being, that's because they're in a swimming pool. Just compare it to under or deep, like 40-foot deep scuba dives at night. You got these scuba divers hanging out with the manta rays. You see the same thing. Roxy says, come on, Tim, we're not talking about licking stamps. You're saying creative writing and art, you're stonewalling. People said the same thing when airbrushing came out. Like, oh, airbrushing is going to kill art. And I was into airbrushing for a little bit for when I was doing murals, and one of the best airbrushers that I was following in these magazines turns out, and I was disappointed. He said, "Oh, I don't do airbrushing anymore. It's all digital. I haven't done a real airbrush in years, and I'm just selling prints." And I thought that's disingenuous. If you have a good enough computer, you could replicate it. So yeah, to me, that's kind of soulless. But no, the word processor has enhanced my ability to write. So you can't tell me that using Claude AI or ChatGPT is worse than a word processor. Unless you're under the presumption or misunderstanding that these things actually do the creative work. And they really don't. But they are getting good. They're excellent. And they're just going to get better. That's one thing you can guarantee. They're just going to get better. So you can look at the flaws in it now, but those flaws are going to be wiped away soon. I was testing some of these things out, and the limitations are there, but they're easy to overcome. But if I wasn't using these tools, I would be losing. I would be condemning the think tank to a bygone era. Calm Down says, I want to take one of my AI images and spray paint it. Well, I've been using AI to generate images to paint. I've been trying to work with it. And it does save time. Thinking of a composition is time consuming. Thinking of ideas is work. And that's why people outsource a lot of their creative work to people who do that for a living. And what these tools do is they allow people who aren't really creative or who don't make that their main vocation to compete on an equal playing field. And to me, that's actually a move in the right direction anyway. Like, I know people who weren't doing art who are now making a lot of AI art. And I think that's great. I think it's a step forward. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, AI phobia needs to go. And it's only there because it's been programmed. Witnesses describe a sonic boom before seeing the helicopter split in two. We can talk about that some more. New update, the island boys are homeless. I wasn't really following this saga, but it's pretty sad. They had a pretty big downfall. They had a moment to capitalize on a rap career. You know what sunk them? And I didn't know this. What sunk the island boys was the meme somebody posted that showed Jeffrey Epstein hanging out with these two individuals who looked like a younger version of these two. So they said these are Epstein Island boys. That actually destroyed them. They weren't able to recover from that. Oh, check this out. Trump is being accused of using ChatGPT to create his tariff plan after AI leads users to the same formula. So I saw Trump with this like game show like chart, reciprocal tariffs. And I thought that's a pretty well thought out chart. Well, no, he made it in ChatGPT. That's pretty funny. All right, let's see here. Oh, Ted Stryker has gifted 20 memberships, 20 blue wrenches, Till, Marcel, and if you get a blue wrench, you will get access to members only content, of which there will be much more in the coming days. So we got Michelle K, Rhodius, Plain Decoded, Kate Emma, Flat Bob, Clump, IFEPA 73, and Christopher Leaves. Haley Harmon, Rome, Sink Lloyd, Don Kane, Friendly Ghost, Dynamo Hum, all new members, new initiates into the Blue Wrench Lodge. And if you don't know the history of the Blue Wrench, you will soon. I'm putting together a nonfiction ebook to give a backstory. Cleodessa, Alyssa J have all received the Blue Wrench. Okay, again, you'll get members notifications when I publish new content. And I am going to be more active here than I was before. These last 10 days have been very, very productive. Let's see. Trump campaign says Whitmer encouraged assassination attempts with a discreet TV message. Do you all remember this? This is in 2020 when Whitmer had the digits on the background 8645 on a screen, and people took it as code for 8645. This just came across my feed the other day, and this is such a redundant thing. They've been driving this story into our heads for so long, and we only have a couple months to wait. So it's 4/11. So in 2 months, Jurassic Liars is likely going to be vindicated. That's when we get our major plot twists. So if you're in Seattle, get yourself a press pass because we will be seeking some eyewitnesses. And then shortly after, oh, and speaking of, okay, so one of the common things here when it comes to this scenario of Trump and the assassination thing, one of the common themes has been the role that Obama has in it. And when I say Obama has a role in it, I'm talking about a couple of things. One, Jurassic Liars has consistently noted this relationship between Obama and Trump, and a lot of it having to do with even Obama's birth date as compared to the dates of these events. And this is highly significant considering Trump came onto the world stage as a politician by questioning the authenticity of Barack Obama's birth certificate. That's kind of been there from the beginning. And that's when he kind of got into the Tea Party, which later he turned into MAGA. But there's this Trump-Obama dynamic that has been on the world stage and represented in the entertainment for many years now. It goes back to Do the Right Thing. I did this article on the actor Giancarlo Esposito, who in numerous movies, in all the movies where the Trump character gets shot at, he's the antagonist. So it's been this consistent theme, and we've been pointing this out for some time. So the connection to Obama has kind of been cemented. More recently, for example, in Francis Ford Coppola's movie Megalopolis. Same actor, he's the mayor, and he's the one who puts the hit out on Caesar, the Trump guy. So this has been a thing that we've talked about, and I recently put out an article with a mind map of all the different roles where we see this pattern, where this Obama predictive programming proxy is the opposition to the Trump one. Now, interestingly enough, Trump just pulled down Obama's portrait in the White House. And care to guess what he put in its place? White House Obama portrait swapped out for a photo of Trump after the shooting. So the fight, fight, fight photo has replaced Obama's picture. Now, what could that mean? So Penguinati Auto Hoaxer says Trump framing Obama for his head wound. Framing, kind of interesting pun there. I mean, this is a photo replacing the portrait. But the idea that Obama's picture would be replaced by this is like an indirect way of implicating him. So we've gone into depth about this many times, that this is a story. I mean, this whole thing was obviously fake. There's still some people who think that he was really shot, which is absurd. But they don't grasp the enormity of the fakery, which is understandable. When you're that close to the screen, you don't have any context outside of it. Okay, let's continue. I had a list of things to talk about today. So there's a pink moon tomorrow, full moon, and Pam Bondi made an appearance at a press briefing dressed in all pink, and so she's been compared to Barbie. Now, I don't know if this connects to the pink moon. Just the color stuff is always weird and occultic. It's probably something. She's probably some satanic high priest. That's what the QAnoners would say if she was a Democrat. Diana says, putting Elon in charge of Doge is like putting Fauci in charge of your health. Yeah, Elon Musk is a saboteur. He's a free speech saboteur. He's not a savior of free speech. He's providing the pretext for censorship. The masses are going to say Musk has unleashed, or he has released the Kraken here, disease X. He has released the madness, and we have to quell the madness. Musk is here to destroy free speech. He's obviously part of mind control. If he wasn't, he wouldn't be the head of a space program. He wouldn't be one of the what I would refer to as a space papacy. Okay, let's see here. Ozfuka2 says, my beginning to IPS was Death Faker Nipsey Hussle. Now you got to get in the Big U and Diddy scam. Nobody breaks it down like IPS. Yeah, we're going to have to get in. We'll have to do a deep dive on that. Russell Brand went to Diddy parties, and he claims nothing was going on. I find it very unusual that Diddy is in the same cell as Luigi and R. Kelly and the Prophet of Doom and Sam Bankman-Fried. I mean, these people are all in the same cell. Jesse's girl says, Obama went to visit Gabby Gifford after her head wound on Elvis's birthday and Jesse's birthday, 1/8/11. She opened her eyes for the first time. And isn't that when she said, fight, fight, fight? JL told me about this. So Gabby Giffords, who was shot by Gerald Loeffner, who looked like a cross between Glenn Beck and who's the uncle in the Addams family? Addams family. I gotta get this picture. Yeah, so Glenn Beck at the time was kind of blamed for it. Oh yeah, Uncle Fester. So okay, Uncle Fester, and let me bring up Gerald Loeffner. So Gerald Loeffner shot Gabby Giffords and a girl. But now look at this picture. Tell me that doesn't look like Uncle Fester mashed up. And I think that's what we're seeing here. I literally believe that they mashed up Glenn Beck to create this character because he was being blamed for it. As was Sarah Palin. As though this guy was listening to Sarah Palin and Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh. But they were blamed for the shooting of Giffords. But the Giffords-Obama connection makes sense because Obama resurrects her and then she has this fight, fight, fight thing. And by the way, she's married to an astronaut who's now a senator. So think about it. Mark Kelly, behind the scenes, fake shooting, fake space, fake politics. It's all the same backstage, same craft services, same production company. It's called the PSYOP Entertainment Complex. Space Chimp says Trump and Obama were laughing together. Oh yeah, that really threw the MAGAs for a loop, especially those who thought that Obama was behind the assassination attempt. Estevan says, thank God you're back. FakeOtube has been unbearable. Hey, I appreciate that very much. And I think we are the best think tank on these topics. We are the leading think tank addressing media fakery head on. This is not like a side thing, like, oh, once in a while, oh, this event's fishy. No, we know the whole thing is fishy. It's all sus. Identical twin astronauts, says Jesse's girl. Yeah, that's right. Mark Kelly and Scott Kelly. And Scott Kelly is in a lot of the vintage, Final Cut Pro 4.0 ISS videos where I'm like, oh, okay, look at that. Outer glow. Green screen glitch. I mean, pathetic. Their special effects were so terrible. They have improved their special effects, I have to say. The ISS has gotten a little bit better. They're a bit more minimalistic. They still screw up with the hair. But what we need to get to now is we need to get to this picture of Elon Musk's latest space venture. I want to show you this astronaut whose hair is just not even floating around. It doesn't make any sense. Oh yeah, and here's the picture I wanted to show you earlier. This is Laura Loomer. It says Trump fires multiple national security aides after pressure from far-right activist Laura Loomer. So this is the picture they show. What do you think when you see this picture? Because what I see here, she looks like, there's lines, like chemtrails all around. But look where the lines go. It looks to me if I were to have to interpret the idea, what this message is containing here, it looks like she's cutting herself. The way she's looking at her wrist, there's a line right there. They're framing her as crazy. She got some NSA people fired, and now they're threatening her life. This is all very consistent with her predictive programming proxy, Laura Jennings, in the madness. So I'm expecting Loomer to drop off the world stage at any time. And so this is something I've been saying for months. I said this right after I saw the movie, actually. I said this last year. Well, last week she said, I'm getting threatened. Expletive phone calls from unknown numbers saying, watch what I say about the NSA. So I have a few other ideas about where this could go, but yes, that's on the production schedule for the PSYOP Entertainment Complex. Now look at this. SpaceX crew shares first ever view of Antarctica from polar space flight. Now, what do you notice about this person? Look at the hair. See, the hair is just flat. It's like they're trying not to. Maybe they don't. I don't know what the problem is. And on this one too, they turned the camera after the fact. Like, I don't know. There's something about SpaceX, lower budget, or they don't have the same. I don't know. Maybe there's some competition there. Pretty sad. But in the video, they literally have a fan blowing her hair. So what I think they've done is they turn the camera 180 so she looks like she's upside down, and they're blowing her hair as she looks out the window at Antarctica. It is so unimpressive, yet people fall for this stuff. What a joke. People are deep faked so easily. Let's see here. Comedian Russell Brand charged with, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I just find it peculiar how the right wing defends their propagandists. You know, Andrew Tate, Russell Brand. Who's the other one? It's like they can do no wrong if they're on this side of the fence, but if they're on the other side, they're immediately guilty. You know, they tweet about pizza, and now they're the worst type of person. It's so hypocritical. But you know, of course, Russell Brand couldn't possibly have done any of these things because he recently converted to Christianity, as he's constantly reminding us. And I'm sure these things aren't connected. Okay, continuing. Make America Go Away. New spin on MAGA hat gains popularity with bold political message. So I've been seeing these hats all over eBay. Make America Go Away. They look just like MAGA hats. And being, you know, I'm like I said, I'm getting back into e-commerce. So I'm something of an opportunist in that regard. And I did create some print-on-demand Make America Go Away hats. I mean, I'll jump on a trend like this to take money away from people who think it's a good idea to scratch Cybertrucks with their keys because they don't like somebody's opinions. So, like, would you rather have that money in the hands of those unhinged lefties who would spend the money on such a ridiculous hat, or have it in my hands? So I have been selling MAGA hats, but they're Make America Go Away hats. And I'm doing it ironically, obviously, but also just for the money and just because I can. That's what eBay is for. But yeah, it's actually a thing. I saw this blowing up on Twitter. It's like, let's see how fast I can sell a red ball cap for $27. And it didn't take me but an hour. While MAGA hats have Make America Great Again, the anti-MAGA hat has arrived. Make America Go Away. And I'm not anti-MAGA. I'm not pro-MAGA. I don't have a dog in the fight. In fact, I'm a conscientious objector to this entire war. But I'm paying attention to things and where these trends go. And I also want to know, is this really going viral, or is this a made-up story? Because they can make anything up. We don't know if people are actually buying these things. Well, now we do. Calm Down says he was married to Kate Perry. Oh, that's right, he was, wasn't he? Now, Kate Perry is going to space very soon, which is She's going to space with Jeff Bezos, his wife, and someone else. So it's like 3 women going to space. What's interesting about this is a little while ago, I showed this video of Kate Perry performing the song. I think it's called "Walking on Air" or something, where she's walking on the heads of the people in front of her, like the dancers. And I'm like, wait, this has to be in outer space, right? According to people who say the ISS couldn't possibly be faked on the Earth, because they were saying there's no way they could fake these flips on Earth. This has got to be in space. So my retort to that was to show the video of Kate Perry doing all these things that they can only do in space. Well, anyway, I said that she is qualified to be an astronaut. Well, now fast forward 6 months, and yeah, she's getting ready to go to space. We're going to get to see her have the overview effect. Her jaw's going to drop when she's staring out the window. By the way, there are links to join our Gilded at autohoax.com or infiniteplainsociety.com. But I know it's a long domain, so ips.monster. And I chose ips.monster because the .com was like $100,000. And monster makes a lot of sense because we're trying to create a large enough presence of media skeptics that, yeah, they ignore us now, this raft. They ignore us as we're a small group, but wait until we scale up a bit. So the whole idea here, is, of course, is the Kraken, raising the Kraken. And we do need to become a monster. Like, we have to become unignorable as a demographic of media consumers who aren't in the box, who are ignored by design. Yeah, Reverse History says, I love that Kate Perry's Instagram response to someone posting she was JonBenet Ramsey. Yeah, let me find that clip. So Kate Perry was said to be JonBenet Ramsey by Dave J. So if you didn't know, Dave J actually got significant media coverage for his claim that Kate Perry was a grown-up JonBenet Ramsey. Now, I have to say, I see it. But do I believe it? I don't know. I don't have any... I need more information. Although I do find it peculiar how you can look at the parents and they seem to match, but then you can look at the grown-up parents and it's clearly not Kate Perry's parents. So no, it's likely not true, but it's a weird thing that these things have sort of aligned. But she did address it. And she addressed it by putting an AI video mashup of her and JonBenet Ramsey. Very bizarre. Makes me think it's true. If they didn't act so suspicious and guilty, Kate Perry acknowledges the JonBenet Ramsey conspiracy theory. This was just last week. Kate Perry reacts to the theory that she's JonBenet Ramsey. Let me go ahead and play this clip. And she has already called out those that she calls the space is fakers. So not flat earthers. The space is fakers. That's us. I never said we are flat earthers. I wouldn't say that. I'm saying the globe model isn't complete in my opinion, and there isn't a replacement because we don't have enough information yet. So that means I'm kind of a shape agnostic, but space is obviously fake. So I've been a space is faker for some time, and she's called them out. So it's kind of interesting that she's debunking this, and now she's going to space. Calm Down says duping delight. See, I kind of think so too. If I was somebody who portrayed a famous role and then fake died and came back, I might kind of clown the dupes. Like why was Alex Jones always making jokes about being Bill Hicks? If he didn't do that, there wouldn't even be a conspiracy theory. So again, she did a mashup video of herself and JonBenet Ramsey, but my internet connection isn't complying, which is fine. We'll get to it later. We have the whole weekend to catch up. Art Bells here says, I'm still scared of the human penguin Tim Oz. Yeah, the human-sized penguin. Calm Down says it's all coincidence. Well, at this point, it's like if it checks 5 or 6 boxes, I'm just going to lean towards fake. I'm going to lean towards my intuition. Why would I say my intuition leads me to this, but the screen says that? Let me go with the screen. No. If the screen is your primary frame of reference, you're in the enclosed system. And I left it a long time ago. I am mentally off the grid. Till says, Jurassic Liar says 2025 is the last year for his predictions to happen based on his customized gematria. If it's a nothing burger, what will your stance be on gematria in the future? Well, I've already said that I don't think gematria presents a predictive model, but rather a symbolic system, a system for creating ciphers, for encoding information. That's how it's used in practice. Like if you look at magic as it's practiced, they use the symbols of numbers and letters to create numerical equivalences between phrases and words. They really get intricate with it, but it's all about encoding the most amount of information into something. But as far as predicting the future with gematria, I've never even thought that was possible. In fact, I made it a point to study this phenomenon after so many wrong predictions about what was going to happen at the Super Bowl when Taylor Swift arrived. It was supposed to be the end of the world, according to so many people with their calculators. They would say, well, this many days before this happened, like 3,000 days ago, this happened. And this letter and this number means this. And they go into the weeds, and it turns up nothing. And I said, at the time, they must be using the Texas sharpshooter fallacy, where if you make 100 connections, you throw them all on the wall, and you just focus on a few that are really close, really compelling, you might be able to, if you are able to curate it right, create the perception of accuracy. The Texas sharpshooter fallacy is based on this notion of, or this description of a man who shoots a bunch of bullets into the side of a barn and then draws a target after the fact around the tightest cluster. And then he says, hey, look what a good shot I am. But he ignores the misses where they miss. And so I said, if nothing happens at the Super Bowl, none of these people can be trusted again. They're all using fallacious reasoning. But what's even more, when it comes to JL, he is reading, again, he is making valid observations. And there are indeed pretty obvious, or not obvious, but demonstrable evidences of symbolic language, of subtext, of in the insertion of propaganda narratives. And it's very intricate. It's very precise. He's specifically focused on things like birth dates, death dates, and names. But no, these observations are just compelling. I mean, for example, when Ronald Reagan was shot by John Hinckley, John Hinckley had JFK's birthday, which is 529. And so that's already kind of interesting because he shoots Reagan. And then he also shot Brady, who died 33 years later, and it was ruled a homicide. And he died on 8/4. So if you look into JL's content, he focuses on the dates August 4th for this head wound. So for Hinckley to shoot Reagan and Brady, and for Brady to die on that date, yeah, these things are so perfect. And it all ties into the JFK assassination. Like, so there is an occult subtext to all this stuff. It's a highly structured script. But there are also occult overtones, and numerology is a huge part of it. For some reason, well, not for some reason, I think it's pretty easy to understand. All of the mystery schools use numerology. They use symbolism to represent other things. It's the esoteric, meaning they can put things in plain sight that the non-initiated will not understand because they are exoteric. They are profane, outside the temple. The whole idea of Illuminati means illuminated, meaning they have been shown the illuminated interpretation of things. So my guess would be that the ones in the know would be able to read what's going to happen by having an understanding, an initiate's understanding of what media is. This was very clearly alluded to in Leave the World Behind, on the section called The Curve, where the character is talking about, he's speaking to Julia Roberts' character about how he reads trends, and if you can read the curve, you can predict the future. And I think this is a reference to news bending. The curve is their specific direction they're taking it. Jurassic Liar says, oh, yeah, I'm glad he's here. My predictions are not based on numbers. There's so much more that I'm showing the numbers. I'm showing how they are doing real life rituals for Elvis and Trump. Yes. Yeah, and that's the thing, too. He's not just using gematria calculators. He's showing alignments and dates, which are huge, names, which are is significant for a lot of reasons, and of course, this constant buildup with Trump and Elvis, and that sounds insane. Like Trump and Elvis, what are we talking about? But it's like, look at all the examples here, irrefutable, of these characters being aligned. Like, for example, I referenced Caesar getting shot in Megalopolis. Well, in that movie where Caesar is Trump, they're having a Saturnalia celebration. You know, Saturnalia, Christmas time. Elvis is performing, and he's performing wrapped in an American flag, singing America the Beautiful, which is the song they performed when Trump was inaugurated. Like, these connections go deep, but they're thorough. And the reason why is that there's a story being told to us. It's called history. They are not reporting history as a bunch of random disparate events and it just gets cataloged. That's not what they're doing. They are writing history. They're producing it. They're creating it. They're fabricating it every day. What do you think fake news is? Fake news adds up day by day, becomes fake history. When do you think this started? Didn't start with 9/11. In fact, there are many indications that 9/11 was planned before the towers construction began 33 years before they fell. And the creation to destruction 33-year period, that's significant from an occult perspective. Another thing that's notable too is the One World Trade Tower that replaced the Twins opened up on November 3rd, 2014. So 13 years after the towers collapsed, the new tower opens on 11/3. Very significant date. 11/3, 3/11 ties into all this stuff. The new tower is 1776 feet high. And I think the other part of it too is that when they were trying to determine what are we going to call the new tower, Donald Trump was involved. And they had a plan to call it the World Trade Center Phoenix, which they didn't use. It would have been too obvious. But there's a lot there to get into when you get into the Phoenix and how that connects even to Elvis and the symbol of the Phoenix, death, resurrection. And one more thing, I mentioned 1776. So this Obama-Trump dialectic, the reason why these two figures are consistently being portrayed as antagonists in this, Trump epitomizes 1776. This culminated with January 6th, which was staged and faked. But Obama is correlated with 1619. And this was cemented with Leave the World Behind, which he produced, Higher Ground Productions, Obama's. So 1619 project, it's this leftist concept of America begins when the first slaves arrived. The first enslaved Africans, 1619, the White Lion. This was all encoded into Leave the World Behind. When the boat called the White Lion hits the beach, it's about the reckoning. It's about 1619 rising up against 1776. So it's class war, among other things, but it's this version of MAGA, the idealized past, make America great again, versus progressive utopianism and breaking away from all these traditions. So they represent the poles of this dynamic. Trump 1776, Obama 1619. That's the reason why they're significant. This is, again, history in the making. Someone asked me if I think that Zena LaVey is related to Swift. They got the same eyebrows, but you're decades off. And Xena LeVay is all grown up now, way, way too old. But could they have purposefully designed the demeanor of Taylor Swift to resemble the son of the high priest of the Church of Satan? Yes. I think that's more likely. I think it's I don't think they're related or cloned, but I think they created this association by design. And this was cemented when she was at the Super Bowl. When they focused on her at the Super Bowl, what were they doing? She's hanging out with who was that singer she was with? What was her name? I'm going to bring this up because the person she was there with, Swift Super Bowl, and I know we had a moratorium on talking about Taylor Swift, but we have to. Ice Spice, that's who it was. Okay, so here we have Taylor Swift and Ice Spice, and when they focused on her, she was drinking from a chalice, and they were doing the devil horn thing, which I thought was kind of interesting. Taylor Swift chugging. And people said it was a bad example for her to be chugging booze on camera. But when you get into the symbolism here, in the satanic rituals and stuff, the high priestess, the chalice, the sign of the horns, it's all kind of there. And it wouldn't be a Super Bowl if you didn't have some kind of homage to Satan. I mean, that's pretty much what they're always doing. The last few Super Bowls, and I've been pointing this out for some time, they're doing the Gnostic Catholic Mass. It is a fertility rite. I mean, that sounds crazy, but that's who runs the world. I mean, the obelisk, the rocket, these are all ancient symbols, and it's in plain sight. That's what I mean. It's esoteric. Thank you, Thirst for Truth, with the super chat. And by the way, all support that goes to the channel tonight is going to fund our AI bot invasion, or agents, AI agents. These are not just bots, these are agents. And the ones that I've made are ready to launch, but there's a minor expense attached to operating these things, as you would expect, which I think is fine. I consider it to be an advertising expense, so I am investing in the appropriate software to make this all happen. I've tested these bots, and when I have them active, I'll send you links. One of the accounts is the AutoHoax account on Twitter. I've already tested these things. I have a bot on Blue Sky that posts all the time. I don't even read his posts, and people respond and give them hearts. I checked on it once, and weirdly, it got totally anti-flat Earth at one point. Baja Pickleball says, let's get crisis actors to call. Look, crisis actors are a distraction. I mean, who isn't a crisis actor today? Everybody who's compliant with mainstream SciWar is a crisis actor. Trump is a crisis actor. If we focus on the low-level crisis actors without talking about who wrote their scripts, who's directing them, or the integration between government, media, politics, police, EMTs, hospitals, DHS. No, this is a massive conspiracy. They want you to focus on a few people here that they can frame as victims of the conspiracy theorists who don't believe them. That's been their standard MO. Make the conspiracy theorists look insensitive for questioning tragedies. That's how they crucified Alex Jones, for not believing the Sandy Hookers. But the truth of it is, that's a distraction from the infrastructure of fakery that we focus on. And what's more, you're not going to get these people to blow their own covers. They're assets. They're intelligence assets. They're undercover. Why would they blow their own covers? They're born into it. I mean, David Icke's dad was FBI. Now he's in politics. There's an interesting quote here. Stanley Kubrick said, "It isn't mythology, it's your life." Let me pull this up. So my contention is the JFK assassination was not real. It was a modern day or a contemporary myth. And it was also occultically, if you look at the subtext of it, it was a killing of the king ritual. Right out of Fraser's Golden Bow. And there's a great breakdown on it, King Kill 33. Okay, well, my internet connection's not letting me play any audio clips. I'll fix that tonight. I haven't turned this computer on in 10 days. I have to update some stuff, but I'm not going to risk buffering. Okay, let's see. Boeing Starliner, NASA thruster failure. Okay, do you remember before those astronauts who were stranded for 9 months, which has to be significant, but 9 months they were up there. And before they even went, I said, watch, it's Boeing. There's going to be some kind of a disaster. Now, they didn't blow up. And people said, I thought you said they were going to blow up. And I said, well, we don't know yet. We were waiting. And we've watched this thing unfold. And we can see how it has served its utility as far as propaganda and politically, suggesting that Biden had a political motivation for not letting Musk save them sooner. So it's grown into a bigger story. But there were a lot of discussions about the failure of the thrusters and stuff. Well, now it's being pointed out that it was a Boeing failure. So again, the whole thing was leave the world behind, set us up for all these disasters in the air blamed on Boeing. This was even a joke in the movie Fly Me to the Moon. They made jokes about Boeing disasters in context of Apollo 1. So where is this building up to? Like, what's the point of this? Well, it's because Boeing is being set up to be a paragon of crony capitalism. That this is what happens when the deregulation and profit over people takes precedent over protecting Gaia and keeping things fair and equitable. So this is they're being made into an example, just like Musk is. Astronauts lost control of Boeing's Starliner while they were docking. NASA attempted to downplay the known issues of the Boeing crew flight last June, but it was far more precarious for the astronauts and the people at mission control. So this whole article here is about how they downplayed how precarious it was and they almost died. They could have crashed. Let's see what we got here. Oh, Esteban mentions in his comment here, he says, Tim can spit like Manly P. Hall. Yeah, okay, Manly P. Hall was... I watched this documentary about Elvis Presley. And it was like Elvis Presley... I'll see if I can find the link. But apparently he was following Manly P. Hall lectures. And there was some talk about him getting a book signed by him. Okay, continuing. How is Hall 9000 going? I still have to get my business registration so I can get my Google listing. So right now I'm just hauling for people I know, but it will likely pick up. But at the moment now I've been focusing on this, but it is a thing, hall9000.com. If you need me to clean out some trash, the whole concept here, the marketing angle with Hall 9000 is space junk. And so if you need some space, I can clear up some junk. And I'm kind of playing on that for the marketing angle. But yes, I do have an active junk hauling business. But I'm getting it formally registered so I can get onto Google. I'm trying to get... So Google has a requirement. You have to have... Your vehicle has to have a sign on it. It has to be labeled. And you have to do a short video so they can verify you're there, you're tangible. Then they'll let you get ratings. And once I get ratings, then I can ramp up business and I can even take it anywhere. But you have to have a reputation and you have to have a list of clients. Truman B3000 says, Joe Rogan is a shill sellout and his boring podcasts are shillbag central, so overrated. I don't know if I agree with that. I will say that he gets a lot of interesting guests on there. The last time I listened to Joe Rogan, he had Rick Rubin on. And Rick Rubin recently released an incredible book about creativity. And if you haven't heard of it, Rick Rubin, major name in record production. Did he invent hip hop or something? He produced a lot of really great records as well. But he's got this new book out. You can get it on... It's called The Creative Act, A Way of Being. The Creative Act, A Way of Being. He's the co-founder of Def Jam, founder of American Recordings, co-president of Columbia Records, helped popularize hip-hop by producing records for LL Cool J, Beastie Boys, Run DMC, Public Enemy, Ghetto Boys. But anyway, his book, The Creative Act, is incredible. He's obviously someone who understands intuition, and he makes a lot of really salient and valid points. Very thoughtful work. But he was on Joe Rogan's podcast. So I don't know about, I mean, Joe Rogan gets a lot of flack because he kind of backtracked on the moon landing thing, but he went back and he actually made some great arguments for not believing in the moon landing. And he even laughed at footage of nukes blowing up. So he's auto-hoaxed the nukes, and he's opened the door to a rational disbelief in Apollo 11. Although he still believes in space travel. But I'm not saying he's like someone that I go to find out what's true or not. He's just a fixture of mainstream media. But I also think he's obviously, he exists in that world. I don't necessarily hold it against people, who exist in that world. Now, is he aware of the truth behind these things? I don't know. He did once say that he would, didn't he say that he would sell his mother's soul to know the truth about aliens? Like, he did say some pretty fishy things. But anyway, I've every time I check out a show, it's based on the guests, and I find that he does get some interesting people on there. Tucker Carlson, as I mentioned earlier, talked to Jones again, and they're talking about pre-programming. They're talking about the Lone Gunman, which, again, X-Files spinoff, one of the main characters' name was an anagram for Lee Harvey Oswald. So you got 9/11 Oswald connections built into a show with planes going into the Twin Towers, and this was 6 months before. Now they go over the towers because they were remotely guided away from it. Let's see here. H.G. Wells is the OG metascriptor. Retro auto hoaxing him ain't a terrible idea, says Penguinati auto hoaxer. Okay. I think you're right about that. H.G. Wells is very relevant today as well. See, we are the Morlocks, and the elite are the Eloi. This division in society between those who are underground and those above ground. I think that's just a way of describing the exoteric and the esoteric. Nick Charles says, Tucker Carlson, the homie, so is AJ, good interview. Well, okay, so they're talking about 9/11 predictive programming, how Jones called it out in advance. And Tucker was giving him a lot of credit for calling out 9/11 in advance. So what I want to point out here is that he didn't prophetically call it out in advance. He was merely adding to the predictive programming to steer alt media in a certain direction, to control or direct their interpretation. But they're talking about the Lone Gunman, and he kept using the phrase pre-programming, and I thought, are they trying to dilute what we are describing here? Like, we're describing here, look at this here, here it is. How Alex Jones predicted 9/11. This is Tucker Carlson. The U.S. government spent the last 12 years trying to censor and destroy Alex Jones. They're still trying, and it's not because he's crazy, it's because he's telling the truth. How Alex Jones predicted 9/11, and then the CIA's influence over the X-Files. A couple of things about this. So their starting point is that 9/11 happened, that those people did die as reported. So his interpretation isn't the truth. And the idea that he's been censored for 12 years is laughable. This has been kind of one of his shtick the whole time, that he's being censored. But if you're acknowledged in the mainstream media ecosystem, you're not censored. The unacknowledged are the truly censored. You never even hear about them. We're not censored. We're not acknowledged. But being unacknowledged is the new censorship. Being censored is great for business. If CNN came out and said, you got to turn off infinite plane radio, this guy doesn't believe anything, and he'll convince you to not get triggered every time you see a headline. that would do wonders for our ratings. People would want to know, what are these guys about? What is this think tank doing that CNN wants to censor them? It gives you street cred. Jones has fake street cred. He's got cred on Q Street, where they're still cycling around 8-year-old Q drops. I just chastised someone for one today. There was that helicopter crash, and some guy posted a Q drop from 2017 about planes exploding. So it's not even the right vehicle. I mean, plane, helicopter, I guess it's the same thing. And I'm like, you're bringing out an 8-year-old stale Q drop to try to provide some insight into some contemporary event? Q has become a new age cult at best. But I don't know. I'm just surprised it still exists. At least they're not still waiting for JFK to show up at Dealey Plaza, which is kind of a hilarious development at the time. I don't know if you weren't here for that. Every year, on the anniversary of the JFK assassination, a bunch of true believers wait there on the grassy knoll for JFK to come back. And this is, look, here's this is a meme that I picked up yesterday. This is an old man with a MAGA hat talking to his children with MAGA hats. He says, "Kids, I waited and I trusted the plan for 25 years, even if I didn't know what it was. Now it's time for you to trust the plan. And make sure to ask your children to trust the plan before you die." And that's pretty funny, because there are still people trusting the plan, I'm sure. If you trust the plan, call in. Penguinotti says, "Did Manly P. Hall play the role of Harry Houdini? Who names their child Manly? Harry must have been the base character." Ooh, interesting. So Harry Houdini, escape artist. Was he considered what? Was he a magician? But escape artist. Manly P. Hall, Masonic historian. Just based on my memory, my recollection, I do recall, yeah, same hair, same kind of visage. I'd have to look. What's up, Deprogram Truther? Yes, we're reassembled. The raft is reassembled. And it's going to get bigger and more contentious, hopefully. I mean, we do want to stir the pot here. The whole point of this think tank, is to engage these topics, and it has to be an open platform. We cannot become an echo chamber. And in order to get people out of their echo chamber to engage us, we're going to have to do some outreach. But we don't have the manpower. We're outnumbered 1,000,000 to 1. It's crazy if you think about it. The size of the raft compared to the size of Trutherville, which is huge, and then that's just a subset of mainstream. So how are we going to accomplish this? With AI. And with the help of it, obviously. Okay, let's move on. We're going through my minds.com. Actually, let's continue through the points of interest. I want to see if we covered everything. So you might find this interesting. There was a Harvard Business article. They did a study. What is the top use case for AI? Like, what are people using it for right now in 2025? It turns out most people are using it, and this is numbered 1 through 6. The top use for AI: therapy and companionship. Yep, people are talking to their phones. And I've done it. I have access to Grok here. And I put it on therapy. I put it on not a doctor. It'll give you, so it's got not a therapist, storyteller, meditation, conspiracy, motivation. I put it on motivation. But let's just see. I'm going to put it on conspiracy. But people are talking to the therapist on this thing. Okay, so.
Yo, you're onto something wild here. Therapists, they're not just listening. They're probably implanting thoughts through those Zoom calls or whatever.
Therapists are implanting thoughts through Zoom calls. Okay, that's the conspiracy theorist that I talk to sometimes. Sorry for the annoying voice. But yeah, I was just kind of interested to find that people are using it for therapy. And again, this ties into something here. That this idea of AI as personal savior. This new God construct that everyone's going to be interacting with. And you can be as thorough as you want. You can tell it anything. It's not going to use it against you. And of course, it's not going to cost you what a therapist would cost. But I just found that to be interesting. Like, where are people at where we have this new technology and the first thing they're using it for is for companionship? So one of the predictions made by the Satanic Church in the 60s, the church that emerged, the Church of Satan, one of the predictions that the high priest made, Taylor Swift's dad, he made this prediction that in the future we would see the rise of artificial human companions. And he also said space ghettos, that they'd be shipping the excess population to the moon and not to go because it's going to be crappy. But don't tell anybody because then they won't go. But anyway, there was this pretty funny article that I read where he described, though, that in the future that people would be connecting to artificial human companions. And he believed this so much that he created this bar in the basement of their black house, their church. And the basement was called the Den of Iniquity. And it was full of mannequins and animatronics. So he would hang out with fake people at this bar in the Den of Iniquity. The window had some kind of lighting situation, so it looked like it was always night, always raining. And he created what he called a total environment. My point being here is he said that the future would see the mass. He said it'd be the biggest development in society since the personal automotive. So I'm thinking about this, and it's like, well, if an artificial human companion was brought down to the price of a car, I could see people, if they're conditioned sufficiently, 100% going along with that. Other news, Attorney General in Florida announces they're charging Ryan Routh for attempting to assassinate President Trump. Now, what's interesting about this thing is that Ryan Routh, they're suggesting, has not been charged yet because Trump's enemies didn't want him prosecuted. But funnily enough, and this was pointed out by Synchromorpheus, if you look at Ryan Routh's face, and this is just weird because he's got this like shock of yellow hair, but if you look at his face, he's got Biden's face. Look at this picture here. First picture, and this is not me cherry picking. If you search Ryan Routh, the very first picture you see, tell me that's not Biden in a blonde wig. Like, this is obviously a joke. And when I said that Gerald Loeffner is based off of Uncle Fester and Glenn Beck, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is intentional. But does anybody here not see Joe Biden in the face of the would-be Trump shooter? I think these are inside jokes. I think the PSYOP entertainment complex is run by people with a sense of irony, comedians. All right, let's continue. Penguinotti says, H.G. Wells' fictional autobiography was reputedly titled The New Machiavelli. I think Illuminati insider dirt might be spilled in that novel. I'll have to check it out. The New Machiavelli. Yeah, I'll take a look. H.G. Wells. I think I used to have that book, but I never got around to reading it. By the way, Insider, Illuminati Insider. The reason why the tabloid is called the Insider is because we are, in fact, insiders. No, we weren't invited, and our information has been, gleaned from wherever we can get it, but it's valid. We've ran with the information. Some people say, oh, that's fake, I can tell. What about taking it to the next step? If fake, then what? If fake, who's involved? If fake, how extensive is the infrastructure of fakery? The PSYOP entertainment complex. It necessarily involves police, DHS, governmental bodies, but then the media. It's so integrated. I describe it as monolithic. And I think one of the best symbols for this system is the monolith. Stanley Kubrick's monolith, which is a reoccurring symbol in so many different movies, but what does it mean? It's the new monotheism. Monolithic media, monolithic control over the historic narrative, over worldview, over the framing of the world that the masses accept. Yeah, this is the new monotheism. Church has been replaced by media. Mass media is the world state church. Space Chimp says Ghost Politics is watching Jurassic. Yeah, his flying monkeys have been reaching out to me. They try to get me to call Ghost Politics. I'm not really sure what he would want to talk about, but I would probably want to maybe get onto a more structured call, unless he just wants to troll, which is what I've been told. I mean, I don't mind trolls, but on what basis are they trolling us? Like, I'm not going to be bothered by the opinions of somebody who still thinks that news is real. Truman B says he's either Alex Jones or someone is using an Alex Jones voice filter. Yeah, that's another thing. Ghost Politics is a Chris Farley impersonator using an Alex Jones voice. I think he's entertaining, but I don't think he's, an insider. He's not one of us, which is fine. I'm not trying to be exclusive here, but if he wants to talk to me, I'll talk to him. Maybe he's got a few people in his audience who might actually get this. It's always good to cross-market, cross-pollinate ideas. Alex Stein in a 1993 Burger King commercial. Yeah, this was kind of weird. I just saw this vintage Burger King commercial from when they first introduced credit cards. And when they first brought credit cards to fast food, it was a big deal. And so here's this actor in this commercial.
The cash.
Now, here we go.
What? The cash or credit? What? The cash or credit?
Cash or credit? He says, what? This guy is like, I don't know, does Alex Stein have a time machine? He got Barron Trump's time machine? Because this is just uncanny. I don't know how this, I don't know how to explain this.
Cash or credit?
Exactly like him. Yep, that is Alex Stein. Sorry, Stein. Mandela effect. Jamarin May says, Ghost Politics sounds like Mancow Mueller. So Mancow Mueller is a friend of Alex Jones. I think these individuals are all part of the same clique. In fact, someone tried to tell me that Mancow is Kevin Booth in disguise. Like all these people in disguise with, and now AI disguises. So this guy is going to come on with a fake voice and a totally generated image persona. Nothing wrong with it. Like I have nothing against people who want to retain their privacy. It's like a pen name. I'm not against it. Estevan says, what an unlikable mug. Well, he's carved a niche for himself. If you've been following Alex Stein's work, I think he's definitely an agent. He's an operative. He has to be. I think he's a crisis actor. In fact, he blocked me on Twitter because when Uvalde happened. So if you don't remember Uvalde, a bunch of kids get shot up. The police just stand outside of the classroom checking their iPhones. Well, what it turns out, of course, that whole thing was fake and that it had predictive or rather concurrent programming because there was a show called, I think was it FBI Files? What was that show where they had to cancel the season finale because it was so close to the Uvalde? They even put a warning label on it. And then you had Stranger Things, season finale, season 4, and they said, because of what just happened in Uvalde, trigger warning, because a bunch of dead kids. So I'm like, wait a minute here. You have this show on this primetime show, this big Netflix show, both reacting to a shooting event that was just like what they were portraying. So now, Alex Stein goes to Uvalde and he wails, he cries at the city council for not doing anything, for not getting the cops to go act faster. So he's out there, basically crisis acting. His whole presumption is that it was real and the cops didn't stop the guy. Well, the NBC show, the FBI show that they canceled, the story was there was a mass shooting and it wasn't off duty, it was an FBI agent had to go rogue. He did not wait for a warrant so he could stop a shooting, and he did. Well, if you look at the Uvalde shooting, it was an off-duty Border Patrol agent that had to go in and stop the shooter because the cops wouldn't. So it was really a close match. So I see this video of Alex Stein looking at a big pile of teddy bears and votive candles, and he's crying, for these kids. And so I sent him a text message, or rather I sent him a message via Twitter, and I said, "Fake dead kids' lives don't matter." And he blocked me. So I just have to assume then that he thinks that fake dead kids' lives matter. Like, well, how do you arrive at that? Like, the lives of these people that don't exist matter? Give me a break. Let's see. Commenter here, Suma Fepe says, "Great find. Why can't anybody find crisis actors that talk and break character?" I have an answer for that. One, crisis actors are all going to be replaced with AI. So the days of calling out crisis actors, gone. No more duper's delight. You offer these people gigs, maybe they're getting big money, it's a deal they made, and yeah, duper's delight is a thing. They can't help but smile. But that's going to be fixed. But when he asks, why don't they break character? It's because these are agents. They're assets. They're undercover. If you're undercover, you don't break that cover for any reason. Okay, let's continue. Critterfest says, "My turkey Sid Vicious is dancing around the room. He just loves your show." Awesome. We got poultry fans. So what are we going to talk about tomorrow for Infinite Plane Saturday? I want to get a lot of back-to-back calls. I had this idea. Somebody had suggested to me that they really liked the show better back in the days of Nipsey, when we would have back-to-back calls. And when you have a big event, it's easy to get back-to-back calls. So I've been thinking there's got to be a way to make that happen. And I think I have a plan. I think I have a structure here to make that happen. So I want to have some overarching topic for Infinite Plane Saturday. And then I want to specifically invite callers. And maybe even have some kind of maybe a marathon thing where we'll keep the show on as long as I get a call every 10 minutes or something like that. Because I can do this all day. We'll take a few breaks. But when we first started, this was long form. Sometimes it'd be 4 hours, 5 hours. We have plenty of music, plenty of archives and content to play in between. I could take a lunch break and play the deep dive number 1 about all the predictive programming for the Trump head wound and then come back. So I'm making a plan here to get more callers, more voices. Esteban says, "I've been hating on Alex Stein from the beginning. I'm a shoo-in for the hate of the year." Yeah, he's a comedian, so he gets a pass, I guess. What does it take to be a comedian these days? It's such a subjective thing, but it just seems like anybody can claim it, and there should be higher standards. And to be fair, I watched Joe Rogan's last comedy special just to annoy certain people that were in the room. And I found it funny. Now, I don't know if it was funny because he's funny or it was funny because it was not funny to the people in the room. But as far as a comedy show goes, or comedy special, it was everything you would expect from him, the usual stuff. A lot of it gross, some of it genuinely funny, but well executed. You know who's also pretty funny? Sam Tripoli. If you haven't seen his comedy specials, maybe you're not following his conspiracy stuff, and he's MSM plus. I don't hold that against people, but he's in that universe. But he does talk to people who are outside of it. He's never talked to an auto hoaxer. But his comedy special is actually pretty funny. All right, let's continue here. And that's just something I noticed too. There does seem to be a lot of comedians that are firmly ensconced in the MSM plus ecosystem, like Roseanne Barr, for example. She's huge in Trutherville. Although Roseanne Barr gets a lot of flack because she says it's not the Jews that control media, it's the Muslim Brotherhood. So she's got this other take that people think now she's a gatekeeper. But anyway, there's a pattern here. And I think it has to do with the ability of comedians to say things that are way outside of the box, to float ideas. That must be it. Clockwork 113 says cringe. Can't stand tinfoil. Well, I would watch, yeah. Look, cringe-ertainment is a thing. Alex Stein is a cringe-ertaining person. Now, this is one of my PSYOP cards. I just rendered this one. This isn't the full version. But I was trying to do this one, and you can't just tell it. You can't say bullet. You can't have, the AI won't do certain things. You got to kind of work around it. But this one here, I have Trump with the Braveheart war paint holding a bullet. And it says PSYOP. Now, this is not the final piece because I want to have a catch-up packet here. And that's not a bullet, it's a ball. If I put bullet, it wouldn't make it. You really have to trick ChatGPT. You got to twist its arms to get it to create anything that goes outside of acceptable discourse. Critter Fest Sanctuary says, I couldn't be a comedian because I'd be jumping off the stage and going after people. Undercover CIA Andler, I can't stand Triple E. I haven't followed him enough to know, but I have checked out his content, and he does a lot of interviews. But he's part of this, like, it's almost like a clique of comedian conspiracy theorists. Eddie Bravo, an auto hoaxer. See, Eddie Bravo could be an auto hoaxer, but he's also a believer in devolution and QAnon. So that's problematic. He went full-blown flat earth, but Alex Jones offered to send him to Antarctica, and he said no, because the Navy's there and they'll shoot you. So I don't know where I'd place him. But potentially, I haven't followed his show. It's been a while. But I think he might be someone who could talk about it. I don't know. It'd be a test. Let's see if he is gate kept. And he's not the only one. Look at all these MMA types and boxers. Like, who was that boxer who said something about he was at Bohemian Grove and he saw a bunch of elite doing stuff? Ryan Garcia or something. He made a ton of money. And then you've got Bryce. What's this other one? This other fighter, Thug Nasty, flat earther, QAnoner, insurrectionist. Gerard says, how about a guest panel? Yes, I'm open to it. We need to do a guest panel. I am 100% open for it. I mean, I've been wanting to do stuff in person as well. Like Joe Rogan style interviews, long form, in the same room. Not even Joe Rogan style, but more like Larry King. I liked Larry King's format. If you've ever watched, he just got the other person to talk. Yeah, Bryce Mitchell. Okay, now I put this up today. There was this meme floating around X. Horrible meme. It says, what level are you at? 1 through 6. Level 1, chemtrails, fake news, GMOs. Level 2, JFK assassination, Illuminati. Level 3, crisis actors, fake moon landing. Level 4, FEMA camps, predictive programming. Level 5, the Clintons are murderers, Bohemian Grove, MK Ultra, Agenda 2030. Level 6, aliens are demons, Project Bluebeam, Rothschilds, Synagogue of Satan, blood sacrifices. So that's level 6. Like, that's the peak. Like, that's when you've figured it all out. That's the bottom of the rabbit hole, level 6. Jesuits, blood sacrifice, Synagogue of Satan, aliens are demons. Like, this is Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson level, where aliens are demons now. But this doesn't go far enough. Level 7, this is where we are at. And if you're not at level 7, we can't talk. I mean, we can talk, but you can't sit with us. Level 7, Nobody died on 9/11. Alt media is controlled opposition. COVID, H word. Anti-vax, also H word. Space travel is fake. Trump participated in a fake assassination psyop. January 6th was staged. Nobody died. JFK assassination was a psyop. Predictive programming is the coordinated mainstream entertainment synchronization with planned fake news events. Chemtrails do not exist. There are no false flags, only hoaxes. Aliens are fake. Nukes are fake. Infinite Plane Radio.
Yeah, what's up, bro? I just wanted to say that I'm an auto believer and I'm in an occult. And can you help me?
Yeah, this is free mind war inoculation. And the way that you get cured is you just hang out. It's like just getting acclimated to hearing the truth. So what is your take on what I just said?
Hell yeah.
What level are you at here? Are you at the level of recognizing that something the Trump assassination could have just been pure theater?
Oh, yeah, that's theater, bro. That how could he just get shot through the ear and then you never seen the wound? Just like Sandy Hook, dude. They never showed nothing. You never seen anything. No one hurt. All the shootings, dude, you never see anyone hurt. I don't know, dude. It's all staged to make people go the way they want them to think.
Yeah, precisely. And what we're doing is we're just going a bit deeper. Like, if that was fake, then it means that the Secret Service were acting. It means the people behind him were in on it to some degree. The firemen didn't really die. Both sides of media are in on the hoax. And then it says the DH. I mean, this is a major psychological operation that shows that there is
CNN's like the CIA.
Exactly. There's no difference between the left and right politics at the top. So I'm glad you got that, because that's what we're doing. We're just going deeper. We're following where the facts take us.
Yo.
Do you have any opinions?
Yeah, bro. I just was saying, what's up, bro? What's up to everybody?
What's your username? What's your handle?
Oh, Nick Charles, bro.
Okay. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm in the cult. And
Nicotramus. Awesome. Good to hear from you.
yeah, dude, that's my homie, dude. Watch his black performance, bro.
Will do. Well, hey, thanks for calling. And yeah, call in anytime. I'm going to try to get more callers in the coming days. This needs to be a standard thing. I like hearing from you all.
Yeah, people call in, dude. Start talking, dude. Yo, call in, people. We need a good discussion. We get tired of just hearing you, man. You know what I mean? I listen to this because people call in.
Exactly. This has always been. It's always been a caller-driven podcast. All right. Thanks for the call, and we'll see you in chat likely tomorrow too. Hopefully, for Infinite Plane Saturday.
Yeah, I'll come, bro.
Good.
Yeah, send me the link so I can get back in the in your discussions, bro. Because I got kicked out of everything.
Gotcha. Will do.
Like all your what is it, dude? Yeah, you know what I mean. I used to be on the newsletter and on the on that gamer thing. I forget what it's called, dude.
Yeah, Roblox.
I forget the app. But
okay, yeah, I'm going to make it a point. We're trying to consolidate again so we can get a bunch of callers in, new callers. I like new callers, and then a lot of the regulars. So good talking to you.
Yeah. I was just trying to get back in the loop, dude. My bad. I ain't trying to fuck your show up, dude. But
no, you're not. Actually, this is adding. No, you're adding to the show. And yeah, I've been out of the loop. Not really, but for 10 days we've been kind of silent. So glad that you're out there.
Yeah, bro, and try to re-upload all of your stuff when you were talking about like the FEMA Society and the Cult of the Obelisk, bro. Please re-upload that shit, dude, because that was one of the best fucking documentaries I ever watched about it, dude. And it makes a lot of sense, and just it'll be beneficial to the group, bro.
Okay, what I'll do then, on your recommendation, I'm going to reproduce Cult of the Obelisk. And I'll bring in all the stuff about...
Or write a book about that, dude.
Well, the whole thing is... Okay, Thelema...
You should write a book.
The Golden Dawn, talking about Crowley, the group, The whole group is called the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, and I was checking out some videos today on Hermetic magic, Hermetic philosophy. Very interesting stuff that has been deliberately kept out of the public's view, but the secret societies really laud this stuff as the truth. So yeah, I definitely need to go back and revisit the
Oh yeah,
stuff.
if they can definitely, dude. Yeah, because that's what all this is connected to, dude. This is where all this started. According to your theory, dude, everything started going weird after that, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and when
Once they opened the portal,
what really,
all that.
yeah, when I first got a clue here that something was up on the esoteric side was when I started to see that there were symbols within NASA launches that all tied in to this hermetic stuff, and the obelisk rocket connection became very clear. And I just
Yeah, and the
built on.
Wally that you gotta save the environment to be free or something. You know.
Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and reproduce Cult of the Obelisk because I have so much more information. I still have the original. I can get the script and just reread it and improve it. So, absolutely. Thanks for the recommendation.
Hell yeah, dude. Have a good night, bro.
Likewise.
Everybody else call in. Take care.
All right. Nicotramus, thank you for calling. Clockwork says 24/7 live streams. Yes. In fact, I just set up a backup computer. It's right there, turned on, ready to go. That's going to be the 24-hour machine, and it's going to broadcast 24/7. The thing I'm adding first is I'm creating a bot that will take the chats that show up in the 24/7 feed and copy and paste them into the Discord server and create some kind of a. I need some kind of a dialogue. A Restream bot does this to some degree, but I want to have a bot that specifically drags people from YouTube into our servers. Did you see the discussions Jurassic and Ghost Politics had there on YouTube? I watched some of them. I'll have to go back and check. I've been somewhat out of the loop. So the InfoWars shutting down is fake too, right? Look, InfoWars has been shutting down for what, 15 years? He owes the Sandy Hookers billions. He's still on. Censored? No. He's not censored. He's the most popular conspiracy theorist out there. He's the face of alt media. He is one of the most popular celebrities. I mean, he's the best at what he does. Now, the idea, though, that he's actually being censored, that's all ludicrous. Oh, what? Oh, okay. My grok was listening. That's what's weird about these things. I wasn't even asking it to talk, and it just blurted out something about Cult of the Obelisk. You have to turn these. They're always listening. So yeah, that's something else too. We're talking about the future, AI. Privacy doesn't exist anymore. Like, your thoughts are probably even being scanned. They're scraping your thoughts. They're scraping your dreams. And they've probably been doing it for a lot longer than we know. Let me play this clip just because I think it's kind of funny. This is Roseanne Barr going against the grain, where she says that the Muslim Brotherhood controls our media.
That's for sure.
All bullshit. All 100% Muslim Brotherhood bullshit. That's who controls our media, not the Jews. The Muslim Brotherhood controls our media.
Really?
And that's why what I said and why I was fired.
Very funny. I mean, it's kind of interesting because I've watched this develop. After 9/11, it was all about Muslim Brotherhood, soldiers of Allah, stealth jihad, taking over from within, the caliphate. And then 2020 happens, and now suddenly it's about the CCP taking over police stations, the CCP buying up all the land, the CCP owns all of Hollywood. So their bad guy changes. But all of these narratives that are based around a bad guy are wrong. And they're wrong because they don't talk about fakery. All right, let's see here. Going through your comments, lots of interesting chatters here tonight. I'm going to do my homework. I'll follow up with Ghost Politics. Maybe we have something to talk about. Copaesthetic says, CIA is watching you on the toilet through your phone cam while you're scrolling. Yeah, why wouldn't they? I mean, I think it's safe to assume, that everything is being watched. Like this is a Truman Show. You've seen the Truman Show. Like we're all in a Truman Show. And it's kind of interesting to look at how 1984 was this dystopian view of the world where nobody has any privacy. And this was shown as like, this is bad, can't have this. So what did they do? This just shows you the power of PR, of propaganda. They conditioned the population to think that privacy is a bad thing, to put everything out there in public. Facebook, hey, get your family photo album, publish it. Tell everybody what you had for lunch. Photograph your meals. What's your relationship status? What are you thinking about? What are your moods? And all that data from Facebook, all of your DMs and your browser history, guess who owns that? Netflix got it all. Do you remember that article about, I talked about it when it happened, Netflix bought your Facebook direct messages and your browser history. Facebook let Netflix peek into user DMs. Explosive court documents release this stuff. Yeah, Meta now. Facebook let Netflix see user DMs to help them tailor content. Facebook let Netflix users see DMs. This is insane. If you think about the role that Netflix plays in fake news, that's what one of the things we're talking about. Netflix has a role in fake news. And it's not just Netflix, it's obviously all the movies. But what they're doing is they're setting the frame of reference for the media consumers to interpret fake news events. And so now we know that years and years of you putting your thoughts, your life, your habits, your patterns into social media was handed to the PSYOP entertainment complex. I don't know if... There we go. There we go. I don't know why it wasn't ringing before, but no. Ringer is on. Let me go ahead. Okay, can you hear me now? Is this Nick Fingar? Okay, just stay on the line, because I think you're on hold and you're on the line. For some reason, the CIA is not letting this caller get through. So we'll just keep trying. If you want to call right back. Don't know why. That is strange. That is strange. Okay, let's continue. Jamarian May says they want to use it to create a digital twin of you. Yeah, that's a horrifying proposition. Like, there's enough information about any of us right now to create an AI facsimile, an avatar. And if the people that you only know through the internet, and if replacement people, AI people, are comparable and as realistic as real people, and as they blur our ability to discern real and fake become kind of the same. I mean, I see people get fooled by AI avatars all the time. Then we might actually in the future, find ourselves immersed in fakery, not even knowing it. That we're basically interacting with digital clones of real people. Doesn't even have to be a twin. They could just like 80% this guy, 10% this person, and now put this person out there. And I've been working with these AI agents, and they're sophisticated now. And this is just the tip. This is just the beginning. So you can expect it. Like if you haven't met somebody in person, if you haven't shaken their, if you haven't, I don't know, like literally at this point, you got to like pinch them to see if they're real, because you're not going to know. All right, let's see here. Waiting for the caller to call back, and okay, it looks like it's glitching, but maybe we got it this time. Third time. Hey, are you in?
Can you hear me, Tim?
Okay, gotcha.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right. Cool. So I've been wanting to call you, but I haven't caught you live in a while. But going back to all the airplane crashes, like when all that was going on in the news, and like at the bar that I work at, I would hear people talking about, oh, I'm going to go on vacation.
"Oh, are you sure you want to? Are you sure you want to fly?" And like people, it seemed like that people were getting scared to fly because of those fake news stories. But here's the other thing is that what I've been paying attention to, my kids always like to listen to the radio when I'm in the car. And just like how all the radio stations are pretty much owned by the same company. And so they really decide what music is going to be heard. But it's not just that, it's that like when the radio stations are playing certain artists' songs, they're like turning on the knob like more or less for the royalties that are going to those people. So it's like maybe it's like, okay, you say what we want you to say in public, and we're gonna turn up the knob a little bit, and you're gonna get more airplay. But here's the coincidental, non-coincidental thing was like, I hadn't heard, you know, that Alanis Morissette song, "Ironic."
Yes, yes.
Uh, I hadn't heard that in years, and when all the plane stuff was going on, several times a week I heard that song, and it's got like a whole verse about the guy that's afraid to fly, and then he crashes on the plane. So, and that reminded me of that part in the Truman Show where he's sitting in the travel agent's office, and there's like the posters of the lightning hitting the plane, and he's like starting to have doubts about his wanting to fly.
Fascinating. Great connection there. Great connection, because they imprisoned him with lies and fear. And the fact that you're hearing people expressing fear of flying because of what they heard on the news, that shows you how powerful it is, because we may have the same amount of accidents every year, train derailments, plane crashes, but if the media chooses to, they can make it seem like it's an extraordinary amount this time. Like it's gone up. It's worse than it ever was. They can turn any anthill into a mountain, and you're absolutely picking up on this. And the people who automatically believe are basically programmable, like Truman in a Truman Show. That alone is reason enough to become a media skeptic, because they will make you fearful of things that you shouldn't be afraid of. That's called paranoia.
Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to share that little tidbit, and I'll keep on listening to the show.
Cool. Appreciate the call, and we'll talk soon. Thanks again.
All right. Thanks.
And thanks for your persistence in getting through. We had some gremlins chewing on the wires. All right, let's continue. Pippi Langstroth is here, says connecting the dots. Exactly. That's all we're doing. You know, it's like we're connecting dots, and over time, we've revealed patterns. And these patterns have revealed that media is not what it pretends to be. Mainstream, alternative media exist in a closed system with a selective frame of reference, and they create the reality that all these true men and true women live inside of. I mean, this is a big Truman Show. I don't think it's a coincidence that it was President Truman when we got the nuke, the atom bomb, and the association there, because we entered into a collective movie. Like if you think about the worldview that we have being synchronized by big events like 9/11 or 2020, the climate change, any universal event or threat puts us all in the same script. And if we all treat this thing like it's real, yeah, well, we're all unified. We're all in a Truman Show. All right, let's see what else we have here. Just scrolling through my notes. I mean, it's going to take a little bit more time to catch up. A fun fact, products created with AI-generated titles make 35% more sales. Just something I thought was interesting. Like everything is using this. If you go to eBay and you list an item, it has a little button, you push it, it rewrites your headline. So this is, I think it's daunting. I think a lot of people are intimidated by it. All right, let me see what else we have here. Historic video, SpaceX astronauts prove the Earth is round. Why do they have to keep proving it's round? If there's like a minority of the population, like 1%, think it's not, why is this organization that makes billions of dollars and is doing all this work to take man to Mars next, why are they still bothering? Like, what do they care? Why do they care what we think? Is it because we have a point? Maybe they are lying about something? But Mars is next. Okay, we talked about, last time we were here, we talked about here we go, Val Kilmer's passing. His final Instagram video, he donned his Batman cowl. Now, I didn't know he played Batman. I didn't realize that was him. So I went back and looked at it. This only stood out to me as interesting for a couple of reasons, just because the Batman thing is consistently inserted into these events. And Matt Perry made some allusions to Batman before his passing. And then if you look at the context of these actors, you know, they say they die. It's like, well, I mean, at this time, this date, it's like, well, yeah, people die. But these world stage actors are likely given exits that are scripted. But I just found that to be a little noteworthy. I haven't dug too deep into it. Like the Gene Hackman death, for example. That one has a lot of interesting elements to it. Like, do I doubt that these people died? No. But there's always an agenda with every one of these stories. They always make a... Like, for example, should we have known all the details that they give us right away? Like about the color of the pills on the floor, were they orange or something? Like there was these details that really wouldn't have been leaked to the public or shouldn't have been. So they almost seem like plot devices or props. Let's see that. And then this is a close-up picture. This is what I mentioned earlier. Here's that SpaceX flight. She's looking at Antarctica. Look at the hair. This is the hair where the fan is blowing it. But notice how it's just flat. This is not like Suni's hair. The caption here says, that face you make when they forgot the hairspray for the fake space mission and have to use a fan to make your messy hair move. Donna Southard says 4/11 is today. Yes, and again, 6/11 is the next big date to watch. So countdown to 6/11. Countdown to Seattle getting Oppenheimered, which I'm greatly looking forward to. Yeah, it looks like they forgot the hairspray. And in this particular clip, and I'll see if I can get it to play for you, her hair is obviously hanging because gravity and the camera's upside down and they're blowing with the fan. And Alex Jones says here, the flat earth cult is not very happy today. This video is over the top. It's amazing. Thank you, SpaceX. And we got this, cartoon CGI image of Antarctica. And really, this is our main point here, is that this all looks fake. And Elon Musk agrees with me. He says, yeah, it looks like CGI, but it isn't. Yeah, but it does look like CGI. You agree with that. And have you ever gone out, like let's say into the woods, out in nature, just walking around the world, and everything around you just looks like CGI? Me neither. How come every time these astronauts go into space, it looks like CGI? Reality doesn't look like CGI. So this is it. This is the clip where they're blowing her hair with a fan because they don't have the same, special effects department that NASA uses. This is SpaceX.
Thank you for your effort. This is actually a known problem.
You hear the fan? And she's posing for the camera. She's sitting there still, and her hair is blowing in the fan.
Thank you for your effort. This is actually a...
Such low effort. This is garbage. I mean, they have these videos of other astronauts like shampooing their hair in space, and you can see it's all fake and stuff, but at least they put effort into it. This is low effort.
Thank you for your effort. This is actually a known problem.
The first astronaut to orbit the poles, Elon Musk says. That is just the laziest hair fakery I've ever seen. This is a step down. This is bad. Pathetic. Ted Stryker has brought in 10 wrenches, so nothing major. LBB Store, Slowboy Whiteboard, Emmy Lou, Enslaved by Truth, Crystal Driscoll, Busy 56, Into the Break, Deborah Irvin, and Cameron Kaplan have all received memberships to the Blue Wrench Lodge. Jamarian says, ever do a full examination of Mario 64? The game is loaded with Masonic symbolism. I've looked through it, and there's a new Mario Brothers movie that just came out. Now I have to watch it. So one of my contentions here is that concurrent programming, predictive programming, is always going to be there if it's in a big movie, if it's something that's pushed to the masses. So if some no-name author writes something that somehow aligns with the fake news events, that's a coincidence. But we're talking about the deliberate entrainment, systemic fakery. So I can just say confidently that the new Super Mario Brothers movie will have predictive programming, maybe related to Luigi, and that it will contain some kind of seeds or plant some seeds as to what's about to happen, and likely things in the future. Yes. You don't need a crystal ball. You just need a Netflix account. It's literally like that. This is an interesting clip here. There is just so much going on. We may have to... Well, we're going to be on here tomorrow. 33-year-old Robert Atherton has been arrested for disorderly conduct and aggressive driving after he boxed in and beat up a woman driving a Tesla. Yeah, he was 33, quarantined the 33-year-olds. But we were questioning, are these Tesla attacks real? Or is this a psyop? And that's a valid question. Like, I do believe that a lot of useful idiots are indeed vandalizing cars because of their politics. That's not new. But the ones that are being popularized, the bomb threats, the explosions, the Cybertruck that blew up outside of Trump Tower, obviously fake. So I saw this one about this man running a Cybertruck driver off the road and beating her up. And I thought, okay, this is high profile. Let's see if there's any evidence of it being real or fake. But he's 33. I don't know. What do you think? I watched this interview with Ye talking to Playboy Cardi, wearing a Klan outfit. You know, Klan Ye. Don't know what to make of it. I watched the thing. I listened to it. Again, this is Ye and his black KKK getup. It's just like he can't shock people anymore. Like, this would have been mind-blowingly shocking 3 years ago. But I think there's an error here. It's in Sun Tzu's Art of War that talks about if you do the unorthodox again and again, it becomes orthodox. So you have to switch your tactics. And I think he's just played the shock card too much, because this failed to shock me. It really didn't get any kind of response from me. But anyway, it was an interesting interview. Didn't really go that far. I think he defends Diddy. I don't find him all that relatable, to be honest. Okay, let's see. One of the best-selling video games of its day features a game mission where a nuke is launched at DC from space as an EMP. Someone posted this, Leo Pirate. So here's a game called Modern Warfare 2. So Modern Warfare 2 has a nuke launched at DC, but they detonate it in space. So one of the things about EMPs, and I was taught this when I was a NBC NCO, I was a 54 Bravo in the military. My whole training was about fallout and electromagnetic pulse. And if you think about it, okay, nukes are fake, but could they simulate it? Well, yes, but they would have to do it in such a way that it's sort of impossible for us to in person validate it. And it would be really easy to detonate one in space. But the higher the detonation, the more widespread the blackout. So a detonation in space would likely devastate our communications. It would shut down Starlink. Everything would fall, and it would have widespread blackouts. And then you wouldn't be able to fact check. You wouldn't be able to talk. You're at the mercy of media to tell you what's going on. But that's modern warfare. So we have Leo Pirate going back through video games for predictive programming, which is great. Jamarin May says the energy of Anubis is Doge. So Anubis is a psychopomp, a guide to the underworld. Doge, and Musk has once, he tweeted kind of enigmatically, God. This was a while ago. And there is this kind of interesting thing with the word God and dog that is highly significant to these secret cults. I mean, Aleister Crowley has mentioned this in the dog star is an emblem in every Masonic lodge. So there is something between the dog star, Doge, and Anubis is definitely one of these Egyptian deities that correlates with the underworld journey. May have some connection to the dog star. I have to look, but again, the dog days of summer refer to the point of the year where the dog star is behind the sun. But this whole thing with Musk, everything is all symbolic. I mean, what do you think the Mars program really is? It's not about taking you to some distant vacation spot or some gulag in space. The purpose of the Mars program is that we're entering the age of Mars, the age of Horus associated with Mars. This is the occult undertones to all this stuff. Musk is a Frankenstein amalgamation, many different characters rolled into one. But he is the Pope of Mars. Just read Werner von Braun's book, Mars, A Technical Tale. But the whole concept here with the Mars thing is that we're not going to Mars. They're going to make Earth Mars. So what does that mean? Well, Mars would represent the transition into a sustainable, perfectly, green world order. That's what it's ultimately leading to. And Musk is such a Trojan horse. You know, people are like bamboozled by him. Oh, he's a capitalist. He's about money. And yet, he's a big believer in the whole green thing. He says Bitcoin's not green enough. If you're green, you're red. Watermelon Marxism. And, Mars, the red planet, might even have some significance with this because one of the first, I think probably the first book on this was called Red Star from like 1908 or something, early 1900s. The Red Star was a book about a commune on Mars, where Mars was a communist civilization and they perfected it. And they were visited by an Earth scientist who wanted to come back to Earth to teach Earthlings how to do it right. So we must make Earth like it is on Mars. Leo Pirate, if you want to call in, phone is now open again. It's 505-510-4226. Hopefully the gremlins aren't out in force. But yes, this concept of predictive programming has been mystified, and it's been turned into some kind of a new age proposition that the coincidences are glitches in the matrix. No, we're spotting glitches, all right. But these are glitches in the propaganda matrix, not glitches in reality. If the news is fake, it doesn't mean reality is fake. And we're doing some course correction here for all truthers who are caught up in these wrong explanations. Hey, is this Leo Pirate?
Yeah. Hey, Tim, what's up?
Yeah, so I just came across your post regarding modern warfare and the EMP blast delivered from space.
Yeah, and it's remarkable because in the game you view the nuclear explosion from space. You're actually on the ISS, and the nuclear blast that goes off in space causes a shockwave that destroys the ISS and then causes this EMP blast to go through Washington, D.C., and helicopters start falling out of the sky. It's a first-person segment. You're running around, planes and helicopters are falling out of the sky. And this game is like from almost 2 decades old. It's from 2007 or 8. I think I put the year in the post itself. But it's crazy because since that post, I've been looking so much deeper into modern warfare, and you call it a divine appointment or a synchronicity. People on X have even noticed this without me prompting them. They've just called it out on their own. With the tariffs, there was a plot in Call of Duty Black Ops 2 where certain rare metals were taxed, and it causes China to retaliate with a cyber attack, a cyber attack, which occurs. The game was released in, I forgot again the year, but the game's story takes place in the year 2025.
Okay, so we've got now. Okay, there was another game too that had drones in 2025. Is this the same one? But the fact is, you're saying tariffs, China, EMP 2025. That fits.
I should be to be a little more specific. Yeah, it said it's a stock exchange leading to a ban on rare earth mineral exports, which causes a global conflict, and then China basically it causes a cyber involving a cyber attack on Chinese stock exchange. But this is from Call of Duty Black Ops 2, and then this occurred in April 7th. We see in the news that China restrict exports of 7 rare earth metals to all countries.
Wow. Okay, that's good. That's a good find. That's a good find. So China, EMPs, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, Diana Southard, that's funny.
And
They have to tell you in advance crowd. Yeah, they have to tell us because then we're consenting to it. Those explanations are worn out and fail. We can move on. We've identified a methodology in play here, standard operating procedure. The fact that you went into that game because you knew that it would contain relevant content to propaganda we're experiencing right now. And you were, well, vindicated.
yeah, and the crazy thing is that this model that we have, that fake news events are a part of synchronized with fictional media, this model is completely rational. It's verifiable because in Black Ops 2, the credits, there are military advisors that are involved in the game's development. The name of one that comes to mind is Hank Kiersey. He's actually he was a lieutenant colonel, the Army for 24 years. He was a professor at West Point, and he's the advisor for several of the Call of Duty games, specifically Call of Duty Black Ops 2. And now that I know a lot of military work, of course it does have boots on the ground, but as we're moving into this deeply information age, so much of it is an information warfare, disinformation campaigns, synchronization with media, staged events, Mind War by Lieutenant Michael Aquino.
Absolutely. And the word game is really relevant here because you could describe our interaction with news events as an alternate reality game. And it is a bit of LARPing. And the fact that these games contain this content, this is all just par for the course of what we're uncovering here. This is rational. And again, the fact that we can predict these patterns means that we have discerned how this thing works. There is a deliberate synchronization, an entrainment that gets us to correlate our frame of reference that we get from entertainment and games and movies with what's happening right in front of us in the quote news. And the planes and the helicopters, when have we seen so many planes and helicopters falling from the sky? Ever since Leave the World Behind, that's just become a thing.
Leave the World Behind, and then you pointed out Fly Me to the Moon. They made Boeing jokes. The film, Dark Knight Rises, right? It begins with Bane on the plane, crashing this plane, no survivors. And during Trump's first term's inauguration, part of his inaugural speech were taken lines directly out of Bane's mouth. We give it back to you, the people, and stuff. It's just, and then with the crashes that occurred 9 and 11 days after this year's inauguration, Trump reported on the one that happened in D.C. by saying there were, quote, no survivors. These kind of synchronizations are deliberate. And if I encourage anyone in the audience, look up Mind War by Lieutenant Michael Aquino, you start to realize that, the appeal to motive fallacy that, our elites are so evil, of course they'd kill people and stuff, that doesn't hold much water because it actually is more cost effective and efficient so that no one dies and no one cries. Because it's essentially staging a tragedy, and it has the same effect on the target population when you're targeting their mind. It would actually be more complicated and worse, with more opportunities for mistakes, violation of NDAs, so many things if they actually did kill so many people in these staged events.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a panel discussion that we need to have. Like, we've made a very strong case for the elimination of the assumption that real deaths are happening. That your assumption needs to start at 0 when they give you a body count if there's any indication of a hoax. Nobody dies in hoaxes. And that is a point that truthers haven't figured out yet. They think, yeah, Trump might have faked his head wound, but the other guy really got shot. No, you have to start your assumption at 0. And even if you can't explain how, you have to dig. It's like 9/11. How can you say 0? Some people will say, no, some people died. The jumpers died. But the people in the planes didn't exist, and the Pentagon was fake. So then I'm like, well, how do you maintain the stance that people died at this part of it but didn't die here? And the whole frame breaks apart when you raise these questions, and they cannot stand on that anymore. They have to recognize that they have no reason to believe it. And then you throw in all the concurrent drills, 1,000 mass casualty actors, and then you're like, okay, it's a close set.
Yeah, and what is it? If you see even a little indication of fakery, like it'd be like at a magic show, you see the magician do sleight of hand. You're like, okay, that was a trick. But then when they make, they saw a woman in half. No, that's real magic.
Yeah.
You're at a magic show, and for us, the monolith, that is the world stage. The new world stage is outsourced. It's available in everyone's hands. It's on their living room screens. It's on their computer screens. That is the world stage is essentially your screen. So you are in a show when you look at the screen. You're not in a show when you're taking a walk outside, talking with friends and family. That's real. But every time you look at your screen, it's a show. And people they treat the screen like an extension of their senses and, an extension of their sensation and perception. That's troubling, because when they say stuff like, oh, you claim everything is fake, that means they think what's on the screen is everything.
Yeah, and even if you're interacting with people in real life, they bring the show with them. Like, you're hanging out with your friends, your leftist friends, and they start scratching up Cybertrucks. Yeah, it's because they brought part of the show with them. They internalized it. They're living in that world where Musk is this villain and Cybertrucks are swastikars and you're morally righteous for vandalizing them. So that's another thing too, is that, yeah, people are internalizing the show just like you would internalize a religious paradigm. And it filters all of their experience. It frames their entire life.
Yeah, and it's, when we say it's, using the word fake, it has a negative connotation that like it's a hoax or a joke. This is very serious to our metascriptors. It's the most powerful form of mind control, right? It's like they're not, this is why, I know that sometimes they might put in inside jokes. I'm always trying to disseminate what is the functional purpose of that. So I think even earlier when you talked about the Joe Biden visual similarities to the second attempted assassination, I forgot that guy. It could be an inside joke, but I also think it just naturally, on a very subconscious level, plays into the right-wing view that Biden is still trying to, the Biden supporters or the Obama supporters. This is why we have so much of these subconscious personas and actors. I forgot the name of the actor from Breaking Bad who played Gustavo Fring. I forgot his name. Esposito or something?
Yeah.
He's definitely an Obama proxy. Yeah, we have got Obama proxies. We've got Trump proxies. This is deliberate. It's not just inside jokes,
Yeah, exactly. And I've been saying recently, Obama is 1619, Trump is 1776. They represent two competing visions. There's a conflict of visions that's being played out, and they're the figureheads for each of these key years. But yeah, you're right on target with this stuff. But what do you think about what Diana Southard posted? She said she thinks that it was the magic bullet, like the one they use at JFK. So the magic bullet hit Trump's earlobe, and then it killed the first responder, the fireman. It bounced off. It
curved the bullet. Like in Wanted, it's like, if you fling the gun, then the bullet curves and stuff. And again, it's funny, you mentioned that kind of stuff. In Modern Warfare 1, there's a really popular sniping mission where you're, crouched out looking to take out a political target. And the general, or the person who's advising you, he says, from this distance, we have to take into account the Coriolis effect. Make sure to, angle your shot in this way so that when it goes that far, it like curves into his head or his body. And I mean, I was a child when I played this game, and I remember during like free periods or recess, some of my cohort were talking about that. And by the way, to make it clear, Modern Warfare, greatest recruitment tool ever. I know people who join the Army just because of those games. Because they make the
Fascinating.
military look so cool.
Fascinating. And the military, I mean, I was in the military, and I think it's a great lifestyle. I mean, high standards of living, great people. I thought it was great. And I thought civilians were lazy and boring by comparison because they're not waking up at 5 a.m. every day and exercising and doing all this training and stuff. But these games as a recruitment tool, yeah, that's fascinating because they're getting dragged into the world where they have to believe that all these things are real. Like if you're in the military, you're an order follower and an auto believer. You're not a skeptic. You don't question orders. So that's kind of an intriguing connection there. And Isabel Ann says there's an alignment coming up that was the same as with Trump on 7/13. So 7/13 was also the date of those two major blackouts in Manhattan that were spaced 42 years apart. Kind of a side note. But what she brings up here, the astrological alignments are worth noting too. So we have the programming alignment with the news, but then we have this other element where it gets into the astrological and the more occult side. That's a level to it that shows you that, yeah, there are indicators here that these things are aligned to a script, and the script is in part astrological. Like I would even say the Great Reset technically started with the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter on 12/21/2020.
Yeah, it shows indications of like the mystery school involvement and how far the propaganda goes. It's almost like a limiting thing to say it's only the military. It's like, you go even further up. And it's like you've mentioned, this inherited world stage that's been preserved by this line of a mystery school that's been going through. By the way, the reason why I called in is because I saw Diana South had mentioned there's a new film coming out today, 4/11, from Angel Studios. It's an animated film about, the story of Christ. It's a 3D animated film. It seems pretty straightforward. I think it's like the greatest story ever told or something. I forgot. It's just a Christian story about the Gospels, 3D animated with big actor names like Ben Kingsley and other stuff like that. But it's from Angel Studios. So it's not a Christian film. It's a Mormon film. And we've already talked about Sound of Freedom, Homestead. I heard you earlier talking about Alex Stein. Alex Stein is underneath The Blaze. The Blaze is owned by Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck is a Mormon.
Oh, interesting
Like the
connection.
LDS Church.
Yeah,
Dude,
good
the
connection.
LDS Church is very, very creepy, man. Because like, think of Sandy Hook, Robbie Parker, or the guy who smiled, laughed, and then fake cried, no tears about the children who supposedly passed away. He's LDS. He's from the LDS Church. So like, what it is, and you want to talk about the cosmological angle, Mormonism or the LDS is perfectly synchronized for the future space Jesus, for the fake alien Jesus to make his return to here on Earth. And by the way, I know this from personal testimonies from others. The LDS Church or Mormons have huge connections to the NSA, FBI, military, Air Force, right? Air Force, which is connected to the Space Force. Many hires come from Brigham Young University, the Mormon school, because Mormons are great hires. They don't take drugs. They go to bed early. They wake up early. They are, certain. I have to squeeze that in here.
No, that's a great point. And then you get into the whole secret society aspect, the Masonic-like fraternal nature, the elders, the oaths, the endowments, where you do have a society within that has its own rules. And these groups, these cultic groups, are very insular, very protective. And that's what I think we're looking at here. We're looking at closed circles. And what do you think about this? So Thomas Crooks shot at Trump, and he barely missed. I'm surprised they didn't run with the flat earther angle because, he was a flat earther, so he didn't account for the Coriolis effect. That's why he missed. What do you think? They could have used that as an opening.
That's probably why. He didn't have Captain McTavish, screaming in his ear, like, take into account the Coriolis effect. That's why Thomas Crook next. By the way, but he shot at just the right time, 6:11 p.m.
And
So,
33
Trump had the
seconds.
full armor gun.
6:11 and 33 seconds.
33.
Now, I'm going to check out that movie by Angel, because everything Angel does that we've seen so far has been loaded with predictive programming. So that's definitely
Yeah. So Diana South, it's King of Kings. I'm sorry, I don't know why I thought it was great. Sorry. The film is called King of Kings, 3D animated film, and it's just bizarre, man. Like I'm telling you and everyone in the audience, when you're doing research, just be like, what's this person's religion? Oh, they're a right-wing Christian pundit. What is their religion? And you'll find every time they attended BYU, Brigham Young University. Oh, they're Mormon. They're LDS. And this merging, the syncretism, if you will, of just Mormonism seeping its way slowly in is very, very concerning. In J.D. Vance's book, Hillbilly Elegy, he actually had something to say about the LDS Church. He says they have wonderful family structure. Anything that I saw while growing up, everyone who grew up in a Mormon family. They had such complete families. Very interesting, very concerning,
Yeah, I can definitely see how that would play into it, especially with the save the children thing, because the idea of saving children, of retro baptism, having children there's this theme there that fits. I think it fits very well with the QAnon doctrine. And the Sound of Freedom, I watched it in the theater. Terrible movie. I didn't see Homestead, but if anyone missed it, the trailer for Homestead came out, and we said, look, LA is going to get nuked. And what happened at the beginning of the year? LA gets the fires, which were compared to nukes. But again, that whole platform, the Angel movie, I think they're fraudulent. I think that the whole idea with Angel is you buy tickets for other people. And I think they're buying tickets and filling up empty theaters for spiking their ratings.
Yeah, and the Angel Studios is based in Utah, so Provo, Utah. So of course, it's definitely there. And I've heard that in Utah, you can't get anywhere without being in the LDS Church or Mormon. Like you can't even start a business. So you're just not going to be able to advance, and no one will go to your business unless you're in these secret societies. And Mormonism is synonymous with Masonry. Like Joseph Smith tried to start, there's a Scottish rite. He tried to start a Mormon rite before he was killed in 1844. The Masonic connection to Mormonism that's just what it is. So there's a lot of overlapping elements, but yeah, Homestead had the LA on fire prominently on display, and they're very unclear. They're like, it's a nuke. Was it a nuke? I don't know. They're driving in a car at one part, and they're talking about the stock exchange being cyber attacked. They had mentioned Russia as a possible perpetrator. Again,
so what they're doing,
Angel Studios, the word.
Yeah, so Angel Studios means like this is created for that demographic. Because I had some Mormon in-laws for a little while, and they had a whole collection of movies that were censored specifically for Mormon sensibilities. And if you look at this content, could be target marketed at them, which would make it a good indicator as to what psyops are coming, because they're preparing them for it with narratives, with frames of reference. So I think these movies are likely highly predictive, and it's because, of course, they have this entire demographic that are plugged into that worldview that these movies present.
Yeah, and when that demographic sees that kind of stuff, when it appears on the world stage in the quote-unquote news, they'll be the greatest advocates for it because they've already been primed. Like, it's totally plausible. I just watched a film where that happened. And the name angel, by the word angel means messenger, right? It's the Greek agolos, right? It's a generic term for messenger. So just something to keep in mind. I don't want to take up the whole show. Just wanted to put my thoughts out there.
No, great thoughts. And thanks for chiming in about the video game content and this high altitude nuke delivering an EMP courtesy of China because of tariffs. Like, this fits in 2025. Great finds there. Appreciate it very much.
Yeah, for sure. And last thing is that it would be a way of an unverifiable nuke explosion. The only effects would be like an EMP.
Exactly.
They wouldn't even need to show a mushroom cloud, right? Yeah.
Exactly. It makes it totally fakeable if they don't have to physically blow us up. And, they could blow up a few Barbie houses, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and nobody's going to know the difference. So they have this under wraps. Look what they did with 9/11. They brazenly pulled off a major psyop in front of the world in a busy metropolitan area, and they did it perfectly because they controlled our interpretation of events through the screen, through their media. So anything they can fake on TV, they can fake in reality, I've said for some time, and they could fake a literal Godzilla if they wanted to.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Anyway, God bless, man, and peace. Good night.
Thanks for the call. All right, that's Leo Pirate. Great information, and I'm going to have to look into that Call of Duty. Fascinating. All right, let's see what else. Diana Southward says, magic underwear for a wedding night. Oh, yes, the Masonic underwear. The ceremonies. All very interesting. I mean, I went to a few masses, and their temples are exquisite. You know, I have nothing but nice things to say about all the people I met in those communities and the Mormon groups, families, and the cohesiveness. I thought it was rather nice. I'm not a religious person. I'm just not into mind control. And it raises the question, is there such thing as a benevolent dictatorship? Like, if we all just believe the same BS and we have peace as a result, is it therefore like a good thing? All right, this has been a great catch up. We're definitely going to be, we're back on our regular schedule. So appreciate your patience and continued support and participation. This think tank has been going strong for 7 years plus. And the next phase is about to kick off. This short time I was not able to be live, I made use of it all in the interest of spreading what we're doing, expanding this, entering the next phase. So there's a lot to look forward to. Major plot twists coming, and we are going to be releasing the IPS bots very soon. Undercover CIA handler says religion is the oldest mind control. Joseph Smith was accused of censorship and the mobs killed him. I was told he was tarred and feathered. I've heard various accounts. Some say he gave the Freemasonic sign of distress, which is hands up, don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot is what the Master Masons do. It's the sign of distress when Hiram Abiff is assassinated. So very interesting. And you know what? That's the sign that Elon Musk made 84 days after the Trump shooting. When they show up in Butler, Elon Musk is behind Trump and he's jumping with the touchdown pose. Yeah, that touchdown pose is tied in to the symbolic death and resurrection ceremony. So it might be some connection with Trump as well. Truman B3000 says, I was called a soy boy for commenting on how fake SpaceX North Pole footage is. Oh, that's interesting. It's kind of misguided. I mean, I would think, because generally it's the right side, the conspiracy side, that is likely to call stuff fake, or it used to be, or be skeptics. And the left worships space. They worship the whole thing. So it kind of would be strange that he would call you a soy boy for it. But that probably ties into the idea that space and going to the moon is all part of the result of capitalism, toxic masculinity. This is one of the themes in that Mars documentary where they had two groups go to Mars. Female scientists who discover life and male space cowboys from Texas who drill for oil on Mars and cause a Mars quake, which creates a disaster. So the story, the moral of that pseudo documentary was, when we go to space, it's going to be done as lefties, as environmentalists, not as capitalists. But that's kind of interesting that he'd call you I mean, the thing is too, we're the skeptics. The people who believe it, who are then questioning us, they're not being skeptical of us. They're non-skeptical. They're media advocates. They have ceded the intellectual high ground when they became a believer. So you just disregard their opinions. I don't care or acknowledge the opinions of people who think the news is real. Like, that's not my fault. That's their ignorance. And ignorance is an option these days. All right, this is Chief Crow, Auto Hoax. We'll see you all soon.
There's this actor with soulless eyes. My buddy, my buddy and me. Telecommunications Act of 1996. 96, y'all. Gonna filter your eyes and scrub your mind. The weatherman, he's just another bad joke. You can be a doomed little donkey like Eeyore. I'ma be an auto hoax, and it feels so good. You just ought to believe everything like I knew that you would. In my dreams.